5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're old, corroding like a geezer.
Hey, where's the beef?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Graybeard's studio. This is episode 116, and this is now the second week in a row we have a major superstar joining the show. It's just our magnetic personality. People are drawn to us. It's a wonderful thing, and so we're very excited today to have Dan Brereton. We'll get to him in just a second, but I got to bring in the regular crew first off. You know him, you love him. It's David Williams. Hey.
I'm Batman.
What is?
No, I'm Batman. What?
They're not going to kiss, are they? Listen. Where did you get the one that's in color? What is that?
We printed this one out. It's another test, and I did a little bit of color on there.
Is that from your the one you're working on?
Yeah, this is from the life size one. So we just
Okay.
shrunk it down just to do a test.
That's
Looks
right.
pretty-
Your son has a 3D printer, right?
Yep.
Cool.
And he printed this one out. All just tests.
Well, hey, they're cool anyway.
Oh.
Let's bring in a guy who's so old he's best friends with dirt. It's Gary Martin. How you doing, Gary?
Well, Aaron, I just wanted to let you know that the last time I stayed in a hotel, I ordered a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
So when the phone rang in the morning, a woman's voice came on and said, "What the hell are you doing with your life?"
That was a good one. That was a good one. All right, let's bring in our fourth co-host, if you will. He's a guy that's often wondering where he's at and why he's there. It is, of course, Dan Lawless.
Excuse me. Pardon you.
A lot of kissing, like bodiless doll heads floating around the show today.
I was busy there a second now. Sorry.
I gave you the cue. You were supposed to be aware that you're coming on. Hey, you guys, we have got a major guest today. He's like a pioneer in painted comics. I've known him since I think '88, back when San Diego Comic-Con was in the old building. David and I were just talking about that earlier today on the phone, the good old days. Creator of Nocturnals, GIANT-KILLER. Of course, he's done Thrill Killer with Chaykin. He did Black Terror for Eclipse. I think that was like his big launching point. And he's over 30 years with the Nocturnals now. I mean, what an amazing feat for an independent comic. And so let's bring him in. We're excited to have him, and we're hoping that he doesn't kick our butt too bad today in this drawing. But here we go. It's Dan Brereton.
Wow.
Everybody's
Dan
got
looks
one.
peculiar. I didn't know he looked.
Brereton who?
Yeah, I didn't know Dan Brereton was Batman. There he is. Look at that. Dan Lawless. He's got your Nocturnals comics right there. Look at that.
Hey, what's that? That's a Nocturnals comic.
Yes.
All of them.
Amazing.
I think
I know that comic.
Do I have
Dan,
more?
when did you do Black Terror? Was that 88 or 89?
Black Terror came out in December of '89. It was the same year I finished 4 years of art school.
So you were just out, fresh-faced kid. That's when I met you. Was at San Diego because you had a print of the Joker. I remember I bought that, and then you had a print. I want to say like Captain America and somebody with a gas mask on or something. Like I wish I still had them, but
Captain America and someone with a gas mask. Well, you know, I did have a Captain America Wolverine thing I had done because
that's what it was.
I
Weren't
think
you
the
wearing a
idea
gas
was
mask or something.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was like a pitch or like a commission or just something I did for fun. But yeah, so in '88 was the first time I'd been to San Diego, and I was still in school. I'd just gotten my first penciling gig, a backup story for Eclipse, and it was written by a young Kurt Busiek.
Wow,
Didn't knew him yet, and I sat and spent pretty much the month of June drawing this 4-part, 6-page each backup thing in my grandmother's kitchen table. And then I get to San Diego for the first time. Yeah. So I get to San Diego for the first time, and I was living, my parents live up in the Sierra Nevadas. And so I flew out of Reno. It was the first time I'd ever been on a plane. And
really?
Yeah, first time at San Diego, first time I've ever been on a plane. So I flew to San Diego in 1988. Went to the Eclipse booth, was talking with my editor there, Fred Burke, and I said, "So what did they think of the job?" And he said, "What was the quote? Mildly unimpressed."
Oh man, sheesh.
Ouch.
Yeah, so I remember just sitting in their booth, just like thinking, what am I even doing here? You know? And then I think that was probably like a Thursday or Friday. I mean, again, like Aaron said, it was back when there was just 2 rooms and a hall, and then some ancillary rooms for probably panels and stuff. And there were no women.
Yeah,
no women.
Artists that I know of, it was Leah Hernandez, and she was like the belle of the ball in the artist alley.
Yeah. If a girl showed up back then, it was like, holy shit, a girl. You know?
There was a guy who showed up with his girlfriend once, and we all practically had, we got neck strain. Couldn't believe it. Is that a female person?
And the girls always
convention.
Dan, the girls always look bored too. They were just like dragged along, like,
Well, you know, the funny thing is sometimes they're just incredibly gorgeous, and they're there just because they love their boyfriend so much, and you can tell how bored they are because they're doing everything they can. And I mean, of course they're bored. I mean, it's comics. They're beautiful women. Why would they be? You know, I mean, well, there are beautiful women who are interested in comics. I don't want to start a whole thing, but at that point, it was clear that they were just doing what they could to make him happy, so he would be like, satisfied enough with the hour that maybe she thought he was going to spend there, because she didn't realize what she went with him was going to be all day.
Yeah, the day thing. Yeah.
She didn't realize that the day she was going to be so attracted to him. Fanboyed out.
Yeah. I brought my very pregnant wife at the time, and she was miserable the whole time.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine, because I've been through it. I've been through it many times. And the funny thing is, I met Chartreuse, and we've been together for 24 years. We have a 19-year-old son, 14-year-old son, and a 5-year-old daughter. And I met her at a comic convention. Like, she just appeared, which was bizarre and crazy, because I kind of conjured her in a way, because I remember a couple of years before thinking,
"Are you sure she's real?"
Girl.
Yeah.
After my first marriage was over, and I thought, I want to meet a girl at a comic convention who's there because she likes comics, but she's not so much of a fanboy that she's going to run to me and go, "Look what I got signed by Frank Miller." But she was going to be, you know what I mean? Just kind of mid-level. And then I met her. It was so lucky, really bizarre and lucky. But
Dan, we're going to talk about your campaign in a minute, because I know you got some stuff coming on. You got a new series coming out from Dark Horse in the fall and everything. But we like to do a little round robin here first, where everybody does a little bit stuff they've been working on in the week that maybe they'd like to share visually, and then when we get to you, we'll talk about your campaign a little bit more, and
great.
And then of course, when we start drawing, we're going to be grilling you for 2 hours, and so just to keep you so you can't really draw very well, so that we won't you won't make us look bad.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we make you go look up stuff. There's all kinds of tricks we have.
Yeah, we have plenty to keep you from actually drawing something and embarrassing us. David, what have you got to share with us, man?
All right, you got to go check the message. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you son of a...
I got the stuff I did on the show and stuff that's available.
Whoa, when did you do that?
Remember when we
Megaton Man.
When we did continuity and I chose Megaton Man?
What did I don't even remember doing that. Who did I do?
Wow.
Something that lost. Anyway, here's the next one. There's a Batman, Robin.
Wow.
Hot Girl.
I remember that.
These are fantastic, Dave. In case anyone was if you were wondering what we thought of them, these are awesome.
But I got something.
What the hell is that? Wait, go back. What is that?
We were doing Addams Family.
Oh, like Fester with the. Okay, got it. Okay. That's so cool.
But I got something to show Dan.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Here it comes.
What? I remember that.
I'm supposed to mail it to you, but I forgot.
That was yeah, that's
5 years.
Who colored that?
I forgot who colored it.
Someone colored it. We put it in the book.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
I've never seen I don't remember seeing the black and white version. That's awesome.
I'm going to send it to you. But it's going to take another 5 years. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll send you a self-addressed stamped envelope.
But yeah, I got something else to show you. Do you look at what your son did for me at Big Wow?
Wow. So that was
GIANT-KILLER.
So who did that? Hunter, Evan? Oh, Evan. Yeah.
Evan.
Big Wow. Yeah, one of the last Big Wows, huh?
Yeah.
I love that show. That is so cool. He was a drawing machine.
Yeah. Tell him I still have it.
I will. That's so cool. He will love that.
Yeah.
All right. That's
he
some
went to Selma
cool
with me
stuff.
2 years
That's
ago.
really funny, that GIANT-KILLER piece that, of course, Dave, he's getting the mail here in the next 5 years.
Sure, yeah. You probably don't live across the street from the post office like I do.
Yeah, no.
I literally live across the street from the post office.
Well, you still got to
no
cut cardboard and package it up, though, right?
Yeah.
You know, they'll come pick it up, Dave.
Huh?
They'll come pick it up. You can call in to pick up.
I know. I know.
That is so cool.
Why don't you come out to a show in Albuquerque and you could come over to the house?
When I get invited to one, I will definitely come out to New Mexico when I get invited.
I'm going in January. There's a show in January, man, in New Mexico. I'm going.
Who's doing a show in January?
Somebody in Albuquerque. I don't know what the name of it is.
All right, well, yell at him.
You know what? I'll mention your name, Dan. I'll talk to him and say, hey, what about
strike?
Brereton?
Yeah, boycott them until they agree.
Exactly.
That would be fun, Dave. It's like getting the band back. That's right. I don't know what you're doing, but here, how's that?
All right, Gary, what are we looking at here?
This is the last half of the 8-page commission that I shared the first 4 pages last week. It's a client wanted me to recreate an 8-page Robert Crumb story.
I was going to say.
Of all people, yeah.
But you did it. You're not trying to. You're doing it in your style more, but I mean.
No, he wanted me to tighten it up a little bit, but that's all I did. I mean, he wanted 95% Robert Crumb.
5% Gary Martin.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good percentage. I think that's
an interesting. I think a Crumb could probably benefit from that percentage.
Well, his
age.
Yeah, this story I think was kind of earlier in his career, so his inks was a little looser.
Definitely the grayest of the gray beards now, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of. Yeah.
So it was here's another page.
Wow.
This was it was not an easy commission. This every panel was packed, and he renders everything. I mean, look, the 4th panel, the guy in his car, he's rendering the windshield.
Yeah.
Come on, there shouldn't be texture on the windshield, but that's, that was.
What's so weird about that is that the face on the guy is so realistic, and that woman, that bitch is ugly.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean she's not realistic.
Come on. Well, I'm assuming the stories about Philip K. Dick that he had photo reference.
Oh,
and
okay.
then all the other characters he just, made up in his own style.
I got you.
Yeah. But that all works in the storytelling. That's the kind of stuff.
Hey, real quickly, Son of Liberty Radio says David always ships promptly to me. Love my Gotham by gas. So yeah,
passion involved.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus.
Well, no, that was a good endorsement. That for people who are wondering whether or not, definitely don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You paid for it. It's coming.
It's coming.
Eventually, it's going to get there. He's had it done for 5 years. He just hasn't mailed it yet.
You know what's even worse than that is when you send it on time and it never shows up and you have to do another one.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate that.
No, I've had to do that because of the Kickstarters. I've had to do it a few times, but not a lot. But I think this last one, I did it. Some guy in Texas didn't get his art. Another guy in France, so I had to redo 2 pieces. But too bad. Yeah.
I wanted to mention this first panel. Is that like totally Wallywood?
Yeah. Yep. The lighting, the rim lighting, and all that.
Yeah, and that's something that Crumb did on almost every single face on Philip. Is that he had heavy shadows and secondary light sources in almost every single face. So he didn't cut any corners. And so, like I say, I just finished this job yesterday, and
Beautiful.
So now I'm moving on to other projects, and some of them are pretty cool.
Well, this is pretty cool and pretty impressive, I think. I mean, a recreation of a Robert Crumb story. That's
yeah, I know.
That looked intense, man. That looked really tough.
Yeah, that's kind of out there. And I saw someone in the chat, Daniel Russell's asking for my address. Before I forget, hit me up on
was he in TP your house? I mean, was he
Twitter? Yeah, Twitter or Facebook, and I'll send it to you.
All righty, Lawless.
All right, this drawing. I did this drawing on on one of our shows a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
of Tigra, and then I did my. The guy asked if I could color it, so I did it in pencil. So I can't really color it. What I did then is I took my color pencil technique that I used to use. Dan, I don't know if you knew, I always used color pencil.
Okay.
On a frosted Mylar, with all those cards I did back then.
Yeah.
That was my technique that I used. And actually,
colored pencil on frosted Mylar.
Yeah, it's not a vellum. It's a frosted Mylar.
Interesting.
Anyways, I did this drawing. Then I did this. I just laid the Mylar. You can see right through it really well. Lay it over the drawing and color it. And then this guy's getting two illustrations for the price of one.
Wow, nice.
But I actually did a video, so it's on my YouTube channel, so you can check it out. I show the paper I use. I showed all the stuff I used to use back then, all the techniques and stuff. So my latest video, everyone can check it out if they want to see my color pencil technique, which I don't really use anymore. But where'd he go? Did we lose him?
We lost Dan.
We lost Dan, I believe.
Oh no. Can't hear you, Aaron.
Maybe he's changing his camera to get ready to draw.
No, I just pushed the wrong button.
Oh.
Okay.
Nothing.
That's why we only have old people on this show. Dan.
Yes.
We all do dumb things like that. And then
How does this thing work again?
Well, I wanted to say Dan Lawless's YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to if you haven't already, because it has great tutorials on it. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Take you right there. Stealth X5 for $2 says hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate it very much. People are in the chat are maybe suggesting that maybe the internet ate Dan, but no, he's back.
No.
Excellent. Nice piece.
Yeah, beautiful.
Your LSU.
I like the way that you. I like the way that you centered her gaze on the viewer in the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's looking into my soul.
Good call.
You know, I don't use this technique anymore, Dan, though, because the problem is the color pencil reproduces terribly. That's the only problem with it. Unless you're taking a half-size reduction, it just picks up all these details you don't see with your eye.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but you know what? I get that with painting too. When I'm working with gouache, little specks of things will show, and I sit there with the scan at 600 DPI, fiddling around with stuff that would never even show up in print sometimes.
Right.
But you still, you know, but then you never know, so you have to fix it. Yeah.
Very nice, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. All right, I'm going to jump to me, and then we're going to do Dan last. So Brereton, hang on a sec here as I show a couple things here.
Fine.
All right, so this is the Empire Comics value stamp that'll be appearing in Wraith of God 3 as one of the stretch goals. So yeah, once again, me ripping off 1970s Marvel. But
could you please explain the value part in the value stamp?
Well, what you do, Gary, is you clip them and collect them all. See, so you clip them out of the book, then you have to buy a second copy so that you have one that's undamaged.
Okay.
So value is for me.
It's for you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now
you could scan or take a digital photo and not mess up your one copy. Oops, should I not have said
Thanks
that?
a lot, Dan.
Sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What if you had more than one value stamp distributed throughout the different copies? There's no way to do that and not incur. That's
so. Does your local vendor accept counterfeit value stamps?
My local bodega does.
Yeah.
Sure.
I wanted to point out real quick, Gary, that this arm right here, I did all in brush. And I don't know why, but I can tell you this. It took me about 3 times longer than it would have if I just stuck with the pen that I was using on the other stuff.
Yeah, but Aaron, it looks 3 times better.
Well, okay. I'll take that then. But anyway, so that's
called and he said 3 hours. That's crazy. Who spends 3 hours on a hand?
That's why I'm not an inker. Okay, so then I've got this piece of the character called Sculpture from the nightclub super team, not to be confused with the Nocturnals. And so this is going to be a trading card once I get it inked and colored, but that's another stretch goal for Wraith of God 3. And then finally, last night, I was a little bored, should have gone to bed, but no, I thought, you know what? I'm going to draw George Jetson blasting a heater. There you go.
More 5 o'clock shadow. You got to really crunch him up.
Yeah. Does anybody who did the voice of that character? Was there some was he a recognizable actor?
I don't know. I know the Flintstones were, but I don't remember who did George Jetson.
My God. That's hilarious.
So Aaron, at this point in George's life, he's just completely given up.
He has. It's just, it's like daughter Judy's driving him crazy. Jane is just nagging him all the time. It's it, man. He's outside smoking. He wishes he was in his den smoking, but he can't. Makes him go outside. So anyway.
He did an on-world deal with Fred to get that pack of cigs.
Yeah, that's right. Didn't they have an episode where they went back in time or something and they crossed over?
Probably.
It shouldn't even be about going back in time. It should be a class warfare thing. It's like the Jetsons are up in
right,
and then the others are down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Perfect. So anyway, that's what I've been up to.
Somebody made a movie about that, didn't they? Wasn't there a movie like that with Jodie Foster?
Yeah,
that's right. You're
right. Blomkamp movie.
Yeah.
They're
George
saying
O'Hanlon is the name of the.
Yeah, Skullmaster says George O'Hanlon is the voice of George Jetson. I don't know who that is.
Oh, good old George O'Hanlon. Oh, him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could list his credits, but we don't have time for me to list all his credits. Suffice to say,
all right,
guy. Several episodes of Columbo, I'm sure.
Kojak.
All right. Hey, okay, so let me bring up Dan's campaign here. So
Dan wants to show some original art.
Oh,
here we go.
Okay, hang on.
Make it big.
All right.
Woo!
Gunwitch.
This is the cover to Nocturnals 31, the art book.
Wow.
Is that on watercolor paper?
Wait, how big
This is on watercolor paper. Someone gave me a huge packet of this stuff because it had been sitting in their house for like 2 decades and they hadn't used it. I don't know what it is, but one side of it is oh wait, no, this is not that stuff. This is Arches. This is Arches cold press, which is what I use a lot for watercolor now because, as you know, the Strathmore 500 Bristol that we all love is no longer the same paper and hasn't been for a couple of decades. So I had to try different things, but this is watercolor and gouache on Arches cold press.
How large is that?
This piece is, I want to say 15 by 20.
Woo!
Yeah.
Hey, did I see something on Instagram where you're having an art auction or something later today?
Yeah, that's just happened to be tonight. Yeah.
Where?
Dan, you do realize that. Dan, you do realize that on this show, guests have to donate artwork to at least one member, and it's my turn this week.
Oh,
so just go ahead and
I don't remember that being in the writer. You want to see some more art, or do you want?
Yeah. Show us more art.
Okay, so you mentioned the Nocturnal Sinister Path graphic. Okay, let me start over. You mentioned a Dark Horse miniseries coming out in the fall.
Yes.
Yes, that's Nocturnal Sinister Path. Originally, it was a crowd-funded graphic novel that came out in 2017, and it's probably the second thing I ever kickstarted. So we did a graphic novel, we did a trade paperback, we offered it through Diamond under Steve Morger's Big Wow Art shingle, which means almost nobody saw it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, it's not about that. It's just that, it's hard to compete with these companies when you're just a little guy and you only have like one book, and then everyone's got these giant, full page ads and everything. So, we're up again, but we did fine with the Kickstarter. It was great. It came out. And, but we probably sold, I don't know, probably fewer than 2,000 copies, 2,500 copies total. Yeah, and this was the wraparound hardcover edition. So I put the title on the back instead of on the front because I just thought it'd be cool to, if you're getting something special, it's not going to be in stores. Why not do something special?
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So 96 pages, came out in 2017. Dark Horse put out 2 huge omnibus editions of Nocturnals material. One was 320 pages. The other one was 420 pages in the last couple of years. And we didn't put Sinister Path in there because Sinister Path is the first part of a trilogy that I'm someday going to finish. I'm working on the second one right now. It's all penciled, but I'm just painting pages. But this, they were going to put out as a trade paperback. And I said, would you guys consider doing it as a mini series first? And they came back and said, yes, we would. So I had to take a graphic novel that was never meant to be anything but that, divided into 4 issues. And so one of the things I started to realize was that I need some splash pages to open these issues, right? I need some transitions to smooth things out. So what I'm going to show you now is some of those pages. So this is the new page 1 of issue 1. Just gouache on the Dark Horse paper.
It doesn't buckle, huh? Wow.
It does. You have to tape it down. You have to tape it down.
Okay.
So originally in the graphic novel, this page was this. Was this? So I had a quote and everything, and then I moved. First we had like the introduction of the characters, then we had like a little quote from Poe because he's mentioned in the story, and then this was the captions that leads you into the story of these 2 characters talking on the beach. And I thought, well, the first thing I can do, since it's a comic book miniseries, is I could do a splash book. We can run it upside down, but I could do a splash page. So I started thinking about, okay, how can I what's the best use of my time? So every issue has an open, like this is the splash page for issue number 4.
Okay. Slow down now. Slow down. Let me see.
Sorry.
Gouache.
So
you basically did, I was going to ask you if you had to do extra pages when you split it up to make it work. And
yes,
apparently, yes.
In fact, there are some splash pages at the end of a couple of issues. I think 1 or 2 have a splash page at the end because I wanted a more satisfying kind of cliffhangery type of thing. Like this is an ending splash page for issue number 2.
the color. I just
also Gunwitch and Doc Horror, I think, needed a little more face time on screen time. And this one's kind of interesting because in this scene, Doc is acknowledging that Gunwitch probably knows more than he can say or would say, and it's annoying to him because he doesn't talk. So it's that was a kind of a fun thing to do. Now this one is interesting because this is the beginning, I think, of issue 3, where the two, I guess you could call them the villains of the story, although they're not really villains, kind of misunderstood wild children. But she is doing her fishing thing because she lives out in the woods, and he's been a prisoner for decades, and he's out now, and he wants revenge, and she just likes being out in the woods and doing her thing. And this is where she's trying to subtly suggest to him that maybe they could just drop all the revenge stuff. And what's interesting about this issue is that the last page of this issue, the new last page, is also a splash of the two of them together, but it's a completely different flip-flop 180-degree from that. So the beginning of the issue is, hey, this is kind of fun. Maybe we don't have to go and get revenge on people. And at the end, they're turning on each other. So there's like 8 pages. There's also 2 pages of just me expanding a couple of scenes to kind of give more clarity and more character and stuff like that. So I could have kind of kept going because it was so fun to do. Yeah. And
so people are going to get new material in these. Yeah. If they pick up the miniseries from Dark Horse, it's going to have new material in it.
Yeah. So people who have seen this are getting another look. It's like a director's cut expanded edition. But then there's so many people that haven't seen it that have seen that are new to the Nocturnals and have only seen it through the omnibuses that Dark Horse has put out. And the great thing about those 2 big oversized hardcovers is that they're like $30 each. They're ridiculously low priced in order to kind of be an introduction. So it worked out really well. And
hey Dan, yeah, quick checklist. Like, okay, so I got the first 6 issues, the ones done by Malibu.
Yeah,
by Malibu, and then I got the 3 from Omnipress.
Okay, yeah, Dark Forever from Oni Press.
Yes, and then I got one called The Witching Hour.
That's Dark Horse. That's a one shot I did for Dark Horse before. So after I did the first.
So what am I missing? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. What? Oh, you're missing a few. Yeah, you're missing a few books and stuff, but you've got some major things right there. I think
Okay.
You have the 2 major miniseries.
The Bravura line. Was this the first Nocturnal series? Was through Bravura?
Yeah, that issue came out in December of 1994. So 31, coming up on 31 years ago.
What issue was I in?
What issue were you in?
Yeah, didn't you use me as a model on one of them?
You were a character in Legends of the World's Finest.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you were a gangster who gets the drop on Batman.
Oh, I gotta see that, man.
He was a gangster.
He's a badass who gets the drop on Batman, and then Superman comes in out of the darkness and heat visions Dave's gun and saves Batman's bacon, which was actually my idea in the story. Was for Superman to save Batman's butt as a way to show that Batman was way, way off his game to let some street criminal get the drop on him. And that was Dave.
Well,
very fitting.
So I was going to say,
I got to see that, man.
That sounds like a typecasting there. Okay,
Dan, where so the ones that I I'm missing a few. Where's everything available? I mean, what's the new one? The new series going to be? That's brand new series, right? That's coming out soon.
So right now we're in the final days of the Kickstarter for the Nocturnals anniversary art book, which is Nocturnals 31. So that's the crowdfunding thing that's going on right now. That has the
right here, the
art book. Here, I showed you the cover for it. I'll bring it back while I'm talking.
Yeah.
So it has the art book. There you go.
Yeah.
An art portfolio. I've got some extras like G-Clay prints and some smaller prints, and there's always kind of fun thing. You put fun things into your campaign. Like those 2 pieces right there are going to be giveaways. So 2 people someone's going to get one of those in their portfolio.
Oh crap! I better back this then.
Yeah. So I did it for the last one I did last year, and it was very popular and it was kind of fun. So those are 2 pieces, and then you can get a sketch, you can get a watercolor, you can get a remark. Those are remarks that are done on a plate. That's Saveta Shubina did a beautiful piece as a print, G-Clay print, like a high-end archival thing. There's a Sean Murphy one for Sean Murphy, based on Sean Murphy's variant cover
Black,
for.
white, right there. Yeah.
So Sean Murphy did a variant cover for Dark Forever #1, and we did a swap for his Zorro piece, so he owed me a cover, and
nice.
So, and every book comes signed. I don't kind of mess around with that anymore. I just sign all the books now. It has a lot of new artwork. It has a lot of there's stuff in there that's, you can kind of see there's stuff in there that's not technically Nocturnals, like that Medusa. She's of the Nocturnals. She's of the kind of the things that I'm interested in that make up what Nocturnals is. And so there's a lot of artwork in there that's not necessarily just Gunwitch or Halloween Girl, but there's a lot of archival stuff too. Things that haven't been seen before, things that haven't been seen in a really long time. A lot of guest pinups and guest art that have sort of collected over the years. Dave had done a piece for I think the Black Planet trade paperback years ago, and that was in the Hero Initiative anniversary art book that came out. I want to say 10 years ago.
Speaking of the Addams Family,
but yeah, that's a recent Addams Family piece. These are like cropped in, so obviously you're not seeing the whole thing, but
right. Now, Halloween Girl is based on your daughter, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, Lindsay, when she was about 4 or 5, we were discussing Halloween, and I said, "What do you want to trick or treat as? What do you want to dress up as?" And she thought about it, and she said, "I know what I want to be, Halloween Girl." And oh awesome. No, honey, you don't understand. And then like all of a sudden it just kind of hit, this character just popped up in my head, and I started doing these drawings in my sketchbooks. And the Gunwitch was like that too. It was a character I was drawing in my sketchbooks for a while. A lot of the characters were. Firelion was a character I'd come up with in the 80s.
That's just like Mignola, with Hellboy. He was
Savage Dragon is Eric Larson's childhood creation, right?
Yeah.
So some of the characters were newer and some were older. Like Doc Horror was definitely a brand new character. I was trying to come up with something that was like over the top pulpy. This one, you can see where it's got the pumpkin over it, where it says sneak preview. Those are actual covers for the Sinister Path series that are upcoming. So they haven't announced or shown all those covers yet. I mean, that particular one they have, but so that portfolio is all the Sinister Path covers, the 4 new ones plus the 2 older ones, and then the cover of the art book. So that's that's an 11. That's like 11 by 14 size. Comes in an illustrated envelope, kind of like the classic portfolios. Has a cover sheet plate. I do those I've done those for the last 5 or 6. Seems like campaigns. They're really fun to do, and they work out well. These are examples of 6 by 8 book sketches, they're not in the book, but they're sketches that you can get with the book. Headshots I've done. And these are commissions you can get? Or examples of commissions? Watercolor, you can commission a watercolor. Those are some samples of ones I've done before, 8 by 10 on Arches cold press, watercolor and ink. And then we have a bunch of the backstock books that you can add on. Now, can you get all your back issues on nocturnals.com, or is that some stuff? Or bigwowart.com has a ton of back catalog. Bud Plant orders a lot of back catalog stuff. So anything that's available, one or the other will have it. So Bud's Art Books carries a lot of my stuff, and then Steve, because Steve and I were co-collaborators on a lot of these books, he has this stuff too. So. And then I have what I call a storage unit that I rent that has all my, my back stock. So it's kind of cool because you can always keep this stuff in the running. So people who missed it like maybe 3 or 4 projects ago can still get it. And then when they're gone, they're gone. Because my print runs are like 1,000. So nocturnals.com, that's your website though, right? Yeah, that's my website, but I don't keep it up as much as I used to. And I was going to mention that to you the other night. Just because social media is so much more accessible, and I don't even know how to get into. I don't even know HTML. I had people helping me with that, so it's set up to where I can create new stories to post on there, but I can't do anything else with it. I don't know how to deconstruct it and make it into something more cool. So,
well, if someone wants to order a book from you, can they go to your website, or do they have to contact you?
No,
directly?
they should go to budsartbooks.com, or they should go to bigwowart.com.
Okay.
Or you can go to my link tree, and like my Instagram has a link tree in the bio that has all the the places there you can click on. In fact,
Aaron, can you put all those links in the
page you're showing? At the end of this page you're showing, there's an actual link to I think there's a link to Big Wow at the very bottom that we sent in there.
Aaron, well, Dan, I think Garen could put these links into the bio at the end of the show, right? So
sure.
Yeah,
I can send you a bunch of stuff.
Dude, do that, because I've got this campaign is linked and your nocturnals.com is linked, but not the Big Wow page or anything. So,
well, okay.
Look,
like
at
I
this
said,
stuff.
if you have any trouble at all, you can. I mean, most of the books that we have still in back stock, you can get through this Kickstarter.
Okay.
Wow, free postcard. Look at that.
Dude, you've got so much stuff on here. It's just packed.
I signed over 150 of them already.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, look, it's right there at the bottom. You see in green that link? It says, what does it say?
It says learn about accountability on Kickstarter.
Oh, that's not it. That's not the one. It's above that.
Report this project to Kickstarter. Is that the one?
No, there was a link. There's a link above.
It's right there, right above. Right above that.
Oh, you're right here.
What does that say?
Right there. Shop Dan Brereton's catalog.
Yeah, there
of
you
books
go.
At Big Wow. There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Copy that link.
It's the whole store.
Yeah. So,
but you know what, folks? Do it through the Kickstarter, because that's where we're concentrating everything.
There you go.
But I love doing these. It's a lot of work, as you guys know. I'm building the page. I don't really have like two. I have two main people who help me. Is Morger has decided that it would be fun to do fulfillment again, which I don't understand why he finds it fun, but he seems to have that organizational mind.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful for that. And then my friend Gilbert, who lives in Reno, is a designer who helps. He designs video gambling machines for casinos, but he loves to draw. He loves Transformers and monsters and Twin Peaks, and he's a great designer, and he helps put all my books together and stuff. And it's kind of fun to collaborate with him.
Yeah, I think that's the guy you hooked me up with when I did my first hardcover sketchbook. I remember we talked on the phone years ago, and I think you sent him.
Yeah, did he help you? Yeah,
because I think he traded out some artwork, and he put the book together for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
I'm pretty sure that was the guy.
He's a good guy. We sit down and we paginate the book together, and we kind of figure out, because that's one thing is, like, even if you don't have like a lot of text in your book, you still have to lay it out to where the spreads make sense, and rather than jam it all into a book. And the last one, we added text to it because Bud Plant said you should have some text in your book so people can, not just look at the art, but just kind of learn more about your process or whatever your thinking is. I thought, okay, I'll do that. And I did, and it was kind of fun. This one has a lot more of that, because there are going to be process galleries in the art book where I do stages of a finish of a painting, like say a cover or a page, and that's show you kind of this, not every single step, but enough steps to get an idea of what I'm doing. And I do that on my Patreon pretty regularly. So I'm used to doing that, stopping and taking pictures of things as I'm going along. And
now people dig that stuff. That was really good putting it in.
Do you ever just draw live? Like
draw? No, because it's just
that's what he's here for.
I can't really talk and draw at the same time. I think I might have mentioned that to Dave when he first invited me on.
Yeah, well,
I can't bubble gum and walk, and
we're gonna screw you over as best we can, so we don't get I said.
It's like conventions. You've seen people at conventions. Some people are hell on wheels when it comes to drawing at conventions. You guys have no problem, but other people, it's they can't do it. I'd rather be. Look at Bill Sienkiewicz was famous for going into the bar and doing all his convention sketches in the bar where it was quiet. And there were other things going on.
And drinks, yeah.
And drinks.
Yeah. Gary, did you see this?
Yes. Comic art fans, I have a gallery with stuff for sale. That's probably the best place to buy stuff from me.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I have one of those too.
Clint says, zoom in on the naked ladies.
Yeah, Bill Cox is great. I was on the show once.
Cover?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one of the covers for the Sinister Path miniseries. I think this is issue 3, so people aren't going to see this for a long time. But there is a process gallery for this one, and what I normally do is I kind of block in the line work and the shadows with a gouache with a brush.
Yeah.
And then work it that way. But I also usually put a color over everything when I first start.
Right.
Kill the whites and bring everything into it. Like if I know this stuff in here is going to be like warmer, I'll do a warm shade and something cooler back here, and then I can go over it. So watercolor gouache. Another funny thing about this is I'm using 14 by 17 Strathmore 500 series, but it's old 500 series. In fact, it's someone got it in an estate sale in a pad of 14 by 17. And what's cool about it is that
estate sale.
Yeah, someone who goes to estate sales, they found these pads. Here, I'll show you.
Yeah, that's where you find this stuff now. Yeah,
I know, it's crazy. Can't get an art.
This is Strathmore Bristol, regular, and I don't know what year it's from, but it was before they started going 400 series, 500 series. They just call it Performance Series. So it's basically got that good sizing that you used to get before the brand changed hands. Because what happened was I went through a whole thing with the guy who's been in charge of the Strathmore brand for years. Years ago, I got in this email back and forth with him. I mean, it wasn't an argument. It was just, I just basically had written to them and said, what'd you do to my paper? And so the guy who's the head of the line wrote me back. And so we got into this conversation. He was trying to gaslight me a lot, saying, oh, well, your ink has changed and this has changed. And I said, well, this paper is not the same. I mean, it's still okay, but I can't do the same work on it that I used to be able to do. And that's why I moved over to gouache. But this paper is pretty damn close. The only problem is it's 14 by 17. So when I get done with the painting, I realize I don't have enough in the top or the bottom for the trim on the cover because I'm an idiot. And so I actually had to go in and paint. You can see where I had to paint.
Wow.
I had to add to the back of it.
Wait. Oh, no kidding. Look at that.
Because I'm stupid. Now, I didn't do that for every cover. I think maybe 3 out of the 4.
Is that all?
There was one where I did I had so much more atop that it was like there was way more than I needed to do, and I just it's not fun to do that. It's a pain in the ass. It's not. I'm not bragging. It's embarrassing, but it's just one of those things that people. It's like one of those, how the donuts are made. Well, sometimes the person making the donuts is. You'd think he'd be, I don't know what to say. I don't have no excuse. I mean, I've been doing this how long? You'd think I would know better, but
you would think.
But I'm in.
All right, gentlemen, we'll keep talking about your project, but let's get started drawing. David, what are you going to draw today?
I'm not sure exactly. I was thinking Gunwich, but I don't want to draw that accoutrement, so I might find someone a little bit easier.
Have those.
I know. I'm trying to look at the one with less.
That's why they take so long to draw.
Dan, what do you think?
Well,
I'm going to go for Gunwich.
That's what I figured. Dan Lawless is going Gunwich. He's not afraid.
Awesome. But I might throw in Halloween in there too. So.
Wow, that's ambitious, man. I'm telling you.
All right, now Dan B, what are you thinking?
For me?
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna draw the Gunwich because he
the Dans are going up against each other.
Oh no.
I mean, well, I could do something different. I could do it without.
No.
Embarrass him if you can.
Well,
these guys want to see me humiliated, Dan.
I have this drawing of Jimmy Stewart from. It's not a drawing; it's a photo. It's a photo of Jimmy Stewart from. I think Winchester 73 or the Sons of Katie Elder. And I like you got the gun.
Favorite films.
And what's that?
That's one of my favorite films.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought maybe that would be my touchstone, is to kind of get him in a different, more of a different dress, because I've done that a couple of times where I've strayed a little bit away from his normal costume, but then I go back and reintegrate things. So that's my little touchstone for that.
Well, my favorite, I mean, I love Gunwich. Everybody loves Gunwich, but I like that blue ghost chick. What's her name?
Polychrome.
Polychrome. So that's what I'm going. Polychrome.
There we go.
I'm doing Halloween Girl. Forget it.
Awesome. That's great, Dave. I actually was hoping that you would do that.
Okay. I'll do Halloween Girl.
That would be awesome.
Well, Doc Horror is also pretty cool, dang.
let's get after it. And I've got a ton of questions for you, Dan. So I'm going to distract you as much as I can from drawing.
Well, let him start drawing first.
I will. I'll let him get him rolling here, and then I'll start peppering.
Yeah,
you
I need to. I'll tell you what. When it starts to look good, then I'll flip my camera over. How's that?
Well, when Aaron notices that you're crushing him, that's when he'll start asking you questions to slow you down.
Well, I don't think I'm going to get that very many questions. I think what's going to happen is you guys are going to get really quiet, and you're going to be like, "Come on, Dan, you can do it. Come on, you can pull this out."
No, you haven't seen this show. We're ruthless.
Yeah, it's
all right.
It's good times.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you more about. Okay, I'm asking a question anyway. I don't care. What's the deal with this art auction tonight?
Oh, okay. So Bill Cox, who's the founder and guy who runs Comic Art Fans.
Yes.
We did a couple of them 2 years ago. He does these live. I guess he does 2 a week or something like that. And
really,
basically, it's supposed to be an hour, but it usually goes longer. The first half we have a conversation, and the second half we sell art. So we did it twice in 2023, and then I didn't do it last year. And so what I wanted to do is kind of show off some of the stuff I've shown you, but then there's other things that are for sale. And the price ranges, go from high end to, a little more affordable, a little, more budget for people's budget. And it's just kind of a fun thing to do. And I actually just wanted to talk about the Nocturnals. And he said, maybe we can do an art sale too. I'd like to do that. So, okay, sure. Why not? So that's going to be, that's at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm in California, so it'll be 6 o'clock for me. So I'll have just enough time to get over the shame of whatever I come up with here with you guys, and then get my self-esteem and my energy back to be able to go and do this thing with Bill. So,
hey, this is the warm-up, man. We'll get you all ready to go.
But don't take it. Yeah, well, I won't be drawing in that show. But yeah, I'll
do what?
My voice will be up. All right.
Oh, the guy ripping on Kelsey?
No.
What?
Brereton.
Someone ripping on me? That's okay.
I put a picture that you could post and showing the.
What?
You don't see? Go in the Graybeard chat.
Oh, the Graybeard chat. I thought you meant the chat for the show. I was like,
what's the matter with you?
Why don't you just tell me this stuff over the air? He's calling me on the phone. All right.
I didn't want to interrupt Dan.
Oh, well, Dan.
Oh, please interrupt me, please.
Dan can just roll. So, okay, but where's this thing at? This auction.
I think that the format is YouTube. So
it's going to be on YouTube on Bill Cox's channel or something?
Yeah, it'll be on the CAF, the Comic Art Fans YouTube channel. It's going to be live, and you can. My understanding is that a lot of these collectors are kind of old hats with this thing. They're sort of regulars. They come on there. The guys that like to buy original artwork and listen to us go on and stuff. So I mean, I put a link on all my pages and everything, but I have a feeling there were some people on my Patreon who knew more about it than I did. So I was like, oh, okay, great.
We should have them on, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe. I mean, so
all right.
Yeah.
This is it. Okay. Live chat and art sale with Dan Brerreton, Wednesday, May 14th, 9 p.m. Eastern this doesn't really give us any information though. I mean,
again, see, because all these people already kind of know, or they're sort of in the know about it, like the people that know about your podcast or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it says Kickstarter live chat and arts, where I talk about the Kickstarter, talk about what we have going there, what's available, things like that. Like, what are those things hanging from the Gun Witch's hat? And questions like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Now, Katie did, who's trouble. I'm just telling you, Dan, she's trouble. She says, Dan's camera is really close to his face. I can count the hairs on his beard.
Oh, really? Well, they've got a nice resolution on there.
Well, she's a what do you call it?
So
A
too much
hairstylist?
face? Is that what you're saying, Katie? Too much face?
No, she's a hairstylist. She probably wants to trim your beard for a price.
Maybe Katie knows how I can flip my camera around so I can face the drawing. Maybe she could help with that. She wants to trim my beard.
She does. I think she does.
Okay, is that why she watches the show?
Well, she gives us grooming tips, Dan.
Yeah, she gives us grooming tips all the time, and we need it.
Yeah, we know we're artists, you know.
Well, occasionally we're busy. We don't have time to groom for podcast, even though we know we're going to be on a podcast.
Well, since Katie started watching the show, now I make sure I brush my teeth before I go on.
Yeah, I did that.
He doesn't do teeth though. Sleeping psychopathy. Is it your phone camera? Yes, Dan is using a phone camera. I don't know. Maybe sleeping psychopathy may be giving us some information here. Okay, sequential artist for $10. Thank you, sequential.
Hold on a second, Aaron. Before you read that, I got a new noisemaker. I want to premiere it with this.
Okay. Okay, hang on. Let me take it down and go ahead and do it. Yep. Everybody get underneath the table. Oh, that's a good one. All right. Sequential for 10. He says, question for Dan B. You described your writing process as the characters telling you what was going on with them. What's the most surprising thing you've been told about themselves in the story you were writing?
That's kind of a cliche when people say the characters write themselves, because when you're sitting down in front of anything, it's blank. It's all you. It's not necessarily the voices, but what happens is when you start to write the dialogue, you get into a cadence. So when I, for instance, back in 2017, when I was finished with all the artwork and it was time for me to sit down and do the final dialogue and everything, I had to get into the groove again. So I sat down and I read a bunch of the books, and that helped me get into the headset of the character, the headspace of the character. And that, I think that's what it is. Once you get into the headspace of this character, whose headspace is different from that one and that one and that one and that one,
right?
Then it's a dialogue between you and the character, or maybe not so much a dialogue, but it's hard to explain. It's just this form of weird writing alchemy where you get into the headspace, you start thinking as much like them as you can. How would they react? What would they say? And then you get the answer back, and then it goes on the page. And then after you do that, you truncate it and edit the hell out of it, because you can't write everything you want to write. You only have so much space, and you really should just put in what's important. And I don't mean exposition. I mean, you're revealing something about the character's feelings and how they feel, and sometimes it's you'll go in and you'll realize that this panel doesn't need any dialogue. The character's expression says it all. There's a pause or a beat there that is created by the lack of dialogue. So I don't know if that helps answer the question.
Do you because what I do a lot is I'll write the script, I'll write the dialogue and stuff, but then after I draw it, I go back in and just I change so much.
Oh yeah.
So do you wait until you're drawn before you do any of the dialogue, or do you write dialogue and then change it?
I have notes because sometimes the scene is predicated on what someone is telling someone or what someone has to say or feels. And sometimes it's predicated on other things. So if there's a specific line that pops into my head that's very important for that scene, it should be written down. But if it's just A to B stuff, it's really more about the feeling and how do you get across the feeling in the most expeditious way possible, but also be entertaining and reveal something about the character. Right. So it's because anyone could sit down and write a bunch of funny things that the characters say to each other and have 10, 12 pages of dialogue. And you've seen comics like that. They're just sitting, shooting the breeze. And I don't have that luxury. And when we're telling an adventure story and we only have a certain number of pages and our lifespan is only so long before we start to get old and gray, we have to economize. That's where the editing comes in. And where I've always wished that I had a really solid editor who could help me with that. And so far, I'm just on my own. I don't know about you, Aaron. I don't know about you guys that write comics, but you're kind of on your own with that. Even when
I have a proofreader, but I don't have anybody I edit myself.
And also, do you really want to hear other people's opinion? I mean,
no, I don't. That's why I don't do it. Because everybody has an opinion. Everybody out there
that is qualified to quote unquote edit a comic book
Well,
professionally.
that's the thing is what aspect of editing are we talking about? I mean, if it's grammar, and I mean, I feel like there's a lot of comic book writers or auteurs who are doing both, who could really benefit from some informed eyes on their script, and stop making these compound words that don't exist, or maybe you take the word "that" out of half your sentences and it'll be less words and still have the same effect, because there's these little things like that that sometimes people don't notice it, so but as far as content and the story and things like that, I mean, who's really paying attention as much as you are? I mean, it's I don't know.
Now, does Polychrome, does she use guns?
No, she's kind of the pacifist of the group.
Okay.
Yeah. So she does not use guns. She's like the den mother. Her thing is, if she really, really needs to make a point or do something, she has the ability to kind of manipulate light, and that's kind of her thing. Did someone just snicker when I said that? It's like so funny.
No, I didn't. It wasn't me.
That's so funny. When you're talking about your characters and their powers and stuff, it really is worth a snicker, I have to tell you.
Well,
really, I mean, people shouldn't be ridiculing you.
It's what we do, right? It's what we do.
That's why I don't like. That's like it's hard. That's why I kind of don't want to nail down stuff. People ask you questions and you really don't want to like nail down too much. Like if they ask you the origin of the character and stuff, it's like, well, yeah, I think unless it's really important to know, maybe we kind of keep some of that stuff a mystery. I don't know. When I met Rob Zombie and we talked about doing collaborations in comics, we had discussed doing like Rob Zombie versus the Nocturnals kind of thing, and Rob had this really cool idea. He wanted to he thought it was really cool to at one point in the story have the gun witch rip the stitches out of his mouth and talk. And I said, that's like taking the helmet off of Boba Fett. I think once you do that, the character's over.
Yeah, you're right.
And look what happened to Boba Fett. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Or Darth Vader, for that matter.
Exactly. I mean, the mystery is, Batman, we know, this is a perfect example. We know everything there is to know about Batman, down to the last iota. And so there's no mystery about Batman. We know he's always going to win. We know where he lives. We know all these things about him. And I think that that's just one of those things you'll never be able to get back. Once the cat's out of the bag, you can't have it back. And so it becomes very difficult to create an air of mystery, especially when you're dealing with crime fiction or detective fiction. There is an element of mystery to it. I think needs to be there to a certain degree. Anyway.
So Dan,
go ahead.
What year? When did we first meet?
Okay, so Dave called me up out of the blue. It was probably 1990. I want to say 1991. I was living in Oakland. I had a much bigger studio back then. I had this apartment in right across the street from one of my old art schools in Oakland. And Dave just called me up out of the blue, as he would do. Because Dave, you were like what? How old were you in 19? You were like what? You were like 17 or something? I don't know.
I was 4.
You were 4 years old. Dave is 4 years old, and he's using the telephone all by himself.
And first of all, it wasn't a call out of the blue. You gave me your number because you saw me at a show.
Okay.
And it was me, Gene Sprague, and Dan Brereton.
Yes,
and we were
Gene.
and you came up and you saw us drawing at. It was
right.
It was at one of those
WonderCon in Oakland.
Yeah,
WonderCon in Oakland. That's what you guys would do. You guys would sit and draw. And I thought that was kind of cool because I didn't see anybody doing that who wasn't already at a table. Another thing that Dave did that I thought was pretty badass was that he got in Rob Liefeld's face and pointed out to Rob Liefeld all his biting that he was doing. Dave, you know what I'm talking about. And the person
How did that go?
sticking up for him was Eric, because Eric was sitting next to him, and kind of and sticking up for him, and you were basically kind of calling him out, and which I was like, wow, that's pretty ballsy. But also, I love the idea that you guys were just sort of like, look, we're drawing, we don't care, this is why we're here, and that always impressed me. And so so Dave called me. I guess I gave him my number. That's fine. Fine, Dave. Perfectly fine.
See how the story changes?
Yeah, but you don't remember giving it to him.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, didn't you just cold call people though? Didn't you cold call like Steve Root and stuff like that, and Alex Toth and other guys?
I would never. No, I'll tell. Okay.
Fearless.
No, Steve Root. I went up to him, and it was still at another Oakland con. Yeah. And I was glamming on him, and because Dave Stevens told me I should, follow this guy, and I bought some books, a few months earlier, and I just was enamored at it. And he was at one of the auctions drawing something, most likely Nexus, and I told him how much I loved his work and blah blah blah. And I showed him some of my work, and he gave me his number. So these were not cold calls, I wouldn't do that.
You weren't like. So in other words, you weren't doing what Rude did.
Yeah, Gary.
No, not at all. No,
Rude would show up, right?
Rude tried to get me, kind of in the weeds with Toth, because he gave me his contact information, and he wanted me to send my work to him. But I had just previously saw what Toth did to Steve. With that letter, and ripped him a new one, and I said, "There's no way." You to get your yes,
to break you in.
That's right, and I said, "There's no way."
I was the same way. I would actually because I remember I was at this is some years later. I was at Mike Allred's house, and this is the time when Mike was doing that trading card set, the Madman card set with Dark Horse.
Yeah.
I was doing a show, Richard's show in Portland for the first time, and I think Rick Leonardi was out there too. And they flew me in to Spokane. I did a signing at that fellow Ron's store. I guess it was Spokane. Maybe it wasn't Spokane. The guy who was also the Walt Kelly, was selling Walt Kelly originals, Pogo stuff.
I was at that show.
Yeah. That's right. That's probably the first time I met you. I don't know if it's the first time I met you in person, Gary, but I remember you were there. And Aaron, I think you were there too.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, because you guys were Portland guys. Yeah. So remember that. Now I'm losing the damn thread of why I was even talking about that. Shoot. No, I forgot. I lost it.
You were talking about why David
so familiar to me
to call people and.
Well, I just know that. I know. Damn it! What were you saying, Dave?
Well, I was just
shut up and draw. Damn.
I was just
Graybeards. This is normal.
Just going.
Okay.
Back to when we first met and all that.
Okay. I remember now. Thank you. I remember. So I did the signing, and then somehow either Mike Allred picked me up from the signing and drove me to his house in Eugene. I think that was kind of the longest drive too.
Yeah, about an hour and
2 hours to Portland. Yeah. And I stayed the night there at their house with him and Laura and the kids. And the kids were much younger then, obviously. And it was the first. And they had a really nice house in the woods. And the first thing I noticed was that he had all the original artwork for the trading card set, matted and framed and hung all over his house.
Wow.
And I said, what? He goes, don't worry, it's all going to get sent back and everything. I'm just keeping it here for now. And I was like, okay, little art show yourself. I noticed he had a really cool thing where he had this piece of plexiglass over his drawing board, and he put like artwork and drawings and things that he liked underneath it. And actually I started doing that too. So I have but I haven't seen the plexiglass in a long time because I use a lot of art boards and stuff to cover it. But and then we were talking about Alex Toth, and he showed me some of the correspondence postcards from Alex. And I said, I wonder, I'd like to correspond with Toth, and I wonder what he'd think of my work. And Mike goes, yeah, I don't know. I don't, Dan, I just don't see how he would, I don't think he would respond well to your work because it's painted and everything. And I was like, and you know what? I agree. I felt like he was telling me the truth because I had already met Bern Hogarth and had the same thing happen with Bern Hogarth when he saw me at Black Terror stuff. in earlier on.
Well, he just didn't get it. He didn't like it.
Well, Hogarth was, this is a guy who, for him, this is old school. What was his first big break? Tarzan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So for him, everything was about economy, about focus, about holding the attention of the reader, but not holding it too long. And for him, the idea of painting comics was just total self-indulgence and went against the whole point of comic book storytelling and all that kind of stuff. And I remember walking away with my friends from art school going, "Fuck that guy. He doesn't know shit. he's so irrelevant now." And I was like, yeah. But then in the back of my mind, I knew everything he said was true. I knew everything he said was true. And I as much as he hurt me because he was like a shotgun, he was right, and I'd heard similar things from like the first time I met Joe Rubenstein. Joe Rubenstein was like very supportive of my work as a painter. But when he saw the first comic book stuff, he said some of the similar things about focus and how long do you want to hold the reader's attention? And he said, obviously you know how to do all this stuff, but you have to show it on every panel. And I was like, yeah, I do, because I'm really insecure. Of course, you're an artist. You're trying to get work. You want to blow people away. But again, totally 100% correct. And to Joe Rubenstein's credit, he is the only artist that I know who will send me a Facebook message, direct message, around midnight, 11:30 midnight, sending me a piece of artwork that he's working on or that he's finished and asking what I think. He'll say, "Is this done? Does it need anything?" In fact, he doesn't even ask anymore. He just sends them to me, and then I tell him what I think. And no, I know no other artist that would do that. I certainly would do. I mean, ask another artist what they think about your stuff. I mean, you're opening yourself up to,
I do all the time.
Give David his phone number. David will give him a call.
Yeah. Well, I give him my honest opinion. I try and be really supportive, and sometimes he doesn't always agree with me. And I try and be honest. My daughter just walked in.
Hi, daughter.
Hi. I can't move the camera because the people watching will get annoyed. But you can hop up. Maybe you can hop up. Can you hop up? No.
That was cute.
We saw her forehead.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Say hi.
Hello. How are you?
Say hi to Aaron, Gary, Dan, and Dave, and me. We're drawing. See, everyone's drawing, and I'm drawing the Gun Witch, and they're drawing different Nocturnals characters too. And we're just talking and drawing.
You and Chartreuse create like the perfect hybrids of both of you every time. It's awesome.
Oh, I see. When I look at your kids, Dave, I see both of you guys. Yeah. It's just funny the different like 20% here, 10% of this. You go some of the eyes. Oh, you get the eye from that person. You get the mouth or the shape of the face or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Chartreuse makes beautiful babies. What can I say?
Yeah.
Regardless of my involvement. All right, sweetie. I love you. Can I put you down? Oh, okay. All right.
Hey, dude, what is that emblem on her bandana? What is that?
Oh, well, I mean, sometimes it's kind of a it's like a sun that looks like a skull.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay, I see it now.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes it's just a skull. Sometimes it's just a half moon. But originally, it was the idea that the sun is, anathema to the Nocturnals. So,
gotcha.
So, and then just play with it from there, I guess. I mean, that's the thing is, I think because we grew up reading comics so much that there's the iconography and the symbolism and stuff that comes along with superheroes, that we can't help but sort of like, kind of include that in the stuff that we do, at least I do. And when I'm drawing these guys, I like to sort of think about I like the idea that they don't necessarily wear the same clothes all the time. I mean, Eve definitely makes clothes. Halloween Girl, they all, they don't live in the world that we live in. So she's making her own clothes. And so instead of being, ashamed, she's not ashamed of the fact that she has patches on her clothes. She likes making patches. She likes that. It's fun. So darning and fixing things and
but the interesting thing then about your characters is it's about your characters, it's not the clothes they're wearing, it's the characters, right?
Right.
So you can put them in different things, and it's
right. I like the idea.
Great job of making them all like very recognizable. I mean, obviously the Gun Witch is very recognizable, but you've got the Fish Girl, you've got the Ghost Girl, you get Doc Terror, Doc Horror, Doc Tari. No,
Doc
that was
Horror. You know, what's funny is he's kind of played by the same actor that plays the Black Terror. If you think about, I mean, he sort of looks similar to him. But no, I Polychrome is a ghost, so she's not really wearing clothes. She's not really there in the way that we are. So she could look however she wants, which means she can go through all kinds of costume changes. So she's got the fashion plate character in a way, you know. And also, just when you start thinking about like, well, these people, if they're real, then they're not going to wear the same thing all the time. That's just sort of bizarre. It's a bizarre idea that because of comics that we feel like everyone always has to wear. Like, remember when they started to break up the costumes in X-Men with Storm and Rogue, and they I loved that. I loved that they had different outfits that they wore. You know, that it made them feel more real.
Yeah.
Aaron, especially by the way.
What woman wants to wear the same outfit every single day? It's ridiculous.
That's true. Aaron, by the way, Doc Tari wasn't that like a TV show? Guys going on safaris and
yeah. Do you remember that Doc Tari?
Doc Tari?
Yeah.
When was that?
But it wasn't. It was like in the 70s. It was like, but it wasn't like Dr. Tari. The name of the show was Doc Tari. Was a word. It was DAKTARI.
Huh.
But it was like, yeah, they were like in the junk. They were like in Africa, like doing crap. I don't even remember what the whole.
I don't remember any of the stories other than they were, you know, like hunters.
Yeah.
You guys remember Danger Island on the Banana Splits?
Yeah.
Do you know who directed those?
No.
Richard Donner.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. No. Isn't that crazy?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's totally crazy.
Someone, if you guys ever come across like all of them together on one, I'm sure someone's done it where they put them all together on YouTube or something. I would like to see that, because even though I probably wouldn't be able to watch more than like 2 minutes of it, the first Django comes along and then you're done after that. But I really liked that show. Jan Michael Vincent, the guy who played Link, was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name. Anyway.
Hey, Dan,
Randy House says Doc Tari, 1966 to 69.
Okay.
I love you too.
Dan, have you gotten any sort of moving at movies or cartoons or anything like that?
That's what I was gonna ask. Thank you, Dan.
That's a good question. Thank you for asking. And so I can relive the pain. No, but you know what's funny is there's always bites on the line. You know, there's always bites in the line, whether I have the hook in the water or not. And I used to get really excited and really worked up and really, really disappointed when things didn't work out. And now I'm so chill about it, because I just realized that, like, even if it happens, that would be great. Obviously, it'd be great. It'd be life-changing in many ways. I'm not knocking it at all. I would love to see it happen. But I remember having a conversation with Mike Mignola in 2000 when Mike was telling me about how he had created a new character called Joe Golem, and the whole point of Joe Golem was that if they ever make a Hellboy movie that tanks and is horrible, probably meaning Dark Horse or whatever, that he would have a character that he'd have waiting in the wings that he could work on when Hellboy got ruined by a bad movie. And I said, listen, Mike, here's the thing about that is bad Hellboy movie only elevates the source material, and you can't touch you. It only makes you look better. So, lucky for him, none of that ever happened.
Yeah.
But I always think, well, even if they made a film, like I had Disney Animation was really interested one year back in 2005, I think, really interested in Nocturnals. And instead what I did was I pitched them on something else that we took. I created a Bible and artwork and wrote a pilot script with my friend Henry Gilroy, who Dave knows, maybe some of you guys know Henry Gilroy. And we pitched it to Disney, and well, they paid us to do the whole thing. I got paid to develop it and everything, and it never went to pilot, but it was a whole summer of working on it and getting paid, and that was really cool. And I realized that if it had been made, they would have made so many changes to gut it, and that even this thing I'd created for them, they would have gutted it. So if I'd given them Nocturnals, they would have really gutted it, and they would have really changed it a lot. And to be honest, I wasn't ready to see that happen. Now I'm accepting of things like that because I know that it would happen. So it's not like I'm in a huge rush or anything to see my children get twisted and turned and have Halloween Girl made into like what they did with Wednesday. You know, they turned Wednesday into they hired someone who's practically 30 to play a teenager. I don't want to see that happen with her. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see the gun witch rip his stitches out and start talking and quoting Shakespeare. I don't want to see any of that stuff. So one part of me is like, okay with it. And another part of me is like, when's it going to happen? You know? So, but yeah.
What did you think of that?
Lots of offers.
Did you see the character in Fallout? Do you feel like they did a little swipe in there maybe? Or
I've heard people say that, but I mean, he's basically an undead cowboy character. I mean, there's a video game character called Shakan the Forever Man. Do you remember that from the 80s? I think it was from the 80s.
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
He was kind of a zombified looking guy with like a gun or a sword. He had a sword, maybe. He had a sword and he had like tall conical hat. And the guy who created that, I heard from people saying that you know I'd ripped off his character for Gunwitch, and I was like, no, man. Gunwitch is like a gunfighting scarecrow. I mean, I've always been interested in scarecrows. And I just did this drawing as like a scarecrow gunfighter once, and that's where he came from. So no, I did not get the idea from that. But people do that all the time. I mean, people when Nocturnals first came out, there was a guy in CompuServe who was saying I ripped off Doc Horror, and I said, how could I do that? I mean, where would I have seen your Doc Horror, sir?
Yeah, exactly.
Did I sneak into your bedroom at night and look under your in your closet where you keep all your Doc Horror drawings or whatever the hell it was? Yeah. There was a guy.
I had somebody on Instagram say the same thing to me. I think it was either Wraith of God or something else. And he was like, I had the same character in high school. You know, I'm like, dude, you went to high school in New Jersey. How in the world would I possibly seen you? You know, it's just.
Yeah. I had a similar conversation with Robert Kirkman once because he did this book called The Haunt. And I had this character that I'd come up with in the late 90s. Who was called the Haunt, and he was like a detective, and basically what he was is like, what if Dashiell Hammett was a sleepwalker? And so the guy is a pulp writer who doesn't realize that his character, his fictional character that he's writing about, is based on his somnambulistic nighttime adventures as his alter ego. And so so I said, oh, the Haunt, you're doing a thing called the Haunt. I have a character called the Haunt. He goes, well, I got mine out first. And I was like, fair enough. You know, that's fair enough. I mean, I can't really argue with that. Yeah. So I changed the name, and it still hasn't come out because I'm not Robert Kirkman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the one curse of having a writer brain is that you can't turn off the story faucet. Yeah. You know, the ideas just come whether you can do anything with them or not. Unfortunately.
Darren Wagner in the chat says, "Oh wow, I've never seen Dan Brereton. Loved Thrill Killer."
He's never seen
Dan Brereton, so he doesn't know what
you look like.
Oh! I look exactly
now he does.
And best name I can think of says
is just wishing she had trimmed your beard so that you'd look a little bit more presentable before.
The thing is it's the camera lens is making my beard look ginormous, and it's not. So if I can do this, does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Dr. Strange shirt on.
Best name I can think of says, I'm backer 386 for Dan's campaign. Can't wait.
Thank you. That sounds like someone who was listening and saw the link through you guys. If
that's right.
That's why he's telling you.
We're here for you, Dan. That's why we're here.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone. That's so awesome. And I'm really excited to, the funny thing is a lot of times when people are doing their Kickstarter or their crowdfunding Indiegogos, sometimes they'll go and they'll crow about how much money their thing is made, and maybe not crow, but like they'll say, "Oh my God, I can't believe we raised 100,000. This is insane. Thank you so much." And of course, it's amazing. But I always feel like I want to get more books in people's hands. You know what I mean? I want more of the books to get into people's hands.
Right.
So I feel like the number of backers to me is exciting, because you know that you've got that many books in people's hands.
I agree. I've always been like that. I mean, you have to make X amount of dollars to pay for the project and all that kind of stuff. But man, it's like, I would rather have, 2,000 readers, for example, and less money than 1,000 readers, and I got them to buy, 20 copies each or something,
because really it's not a money grab. It's a project that requires a lot of your attention, your love, and your care. And the minute that I get the Kickstarter to a point where I can launch it, I've already been involved in it for like months, right? And probably started doing artwork for it. And then at the time the Kickstarter is going, the campaign's going, I start having these ideas for other things I want to do. And the enthusiasm of the backers is infectious. It's like a reverb. So then I want to do more things. But I also want to not go broke. So rather just loading, there used to be this thing where like, oh, I'm going to do this. They're going to get this and this and this. And then pretty soon you're like, I got a lot to do. I have to design this. I have to make sure the printer's getting these done. Well, there's all these components that then become a whole other issue. And you still have drawings to do. You still have artwork to do. You still have all this other stuff to do. So I always try and make a small footprint or make it as efficient as I can. And it's not always that easy to do. Okay, so I'm going to show you where I'm at right now, since I have
okay.
So this is on 11 by 17 or board.
Yep.
So
he's bringing the heat. He's bringing the heat.
Yeah,
make it big, Aaron.
Too late.
You can relax. You're not. Everyone's fine. No one has to worry about tripping me up. Be lucky if I finish.
So how does it feel though? You own Nocturnals, right? So how does it feel like? Isn't that such a nicer thing than working for someone else's characters?
I really wish that more people could. I mean, it's great to see so many people being able to create their own stuff like that, because it really is a great feeling to sort of be in control of your own destiny. And I know a lot of artists who are very, very talented, not just in this group, obviously, but out there in the world, who have this body of work. And I think, why aren't you doing an art book? And a lot of the times what I hear back is, well, it's because a lot of the stuff, I don't own this stuff. It's not there are my characters. It's like, okay, well, that's not really an excuse.
That didn't stop me.
No, and it's such a thing as fair use.
Aaron rips everybody off, man. He doesn't care.
Well, as long as I'm not putting Batman on the cover of my art book and taking pictures of Batman and running them in the Kickstarter, or Conan or whatever, and running them in the Kickstarter and saying, hey, look at my cool stuff with Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and all that stuff. As long as I'm not doing that, then I'm not using their characters to sell my product. No, it should be okay.
Yep. Dan, you were always kind of an independent thinker in those terms, right? Because I mean, you were very early in your career. You did Nocturnals. It wasn't like you were looking to do, Captain America and Batman all the time. You had your own stuff you wanted to do from the get-go, right? Or close to it?
Trust me, I would have loved to have done. I got offered, well, it's just a trajectory. Started with doing indie comics. And then the thing I broke into the mainstream with was The Psycho, which was a creator-owned book through DC.
Okay, so that was your project, Psycho.
With James Hudnall, yeah. So
Hudnall.
James had already pitched it to
this one.
There you go. Yeah. So James had already pitched it to DC. He had done the unauthorized biography of Lex Luthor, and they were liking what he was putting out there, and they wanted him to do some other things. And so he had this thing called The Psycho, and this techno ninja who had like a mirror mask. So when you were looking at him, you were seeing your face, and he was kind of a cipher. And so Jim met me at WonderCon, and then showed my work to DC, and that changed everything for me. That was huge. And I in turn came up with ideas for The Psycho to make it more not just me being a wrist, not me just trying to keep up with the techno ninja thing, because I thought that's not me, you know. And Jim was pretty cool about letting me kind of have free reign, or at least if not free reign, then being able to come in and add my stamp to things. So the site changed a lot. He became this kind of a scary, weird character, you know, which just made him a lot more fun to draw. And I think it made it a much more interesting series. I mean, he's if he's supposed to be kind of crazy, he should kind of look crazy. So because I had done a creator-owned book, with DC, I had already kind of cut my teeth that way. It didn't really occur to me to do my own thing until, well, let's see. I don't know, because I remember the year that I started showing Nocturnals around to publishers, the first time was at WonderCon, and Mignola was there with his Hellboy stuff, and he had set it up with Dark Horse by that time. So that would have been, I think, 90. I want to say 90.
Was that the Legends stuff? Was the first?
Yeah. So Legends. So what I did was I had this, you know, I had Nocturnals ready to pitch, and I pitched it to I actually pitched it to Dark Horse to Bob Schreck, and Bob liked it, and we had talked about working together, and so it was over at Dark Horse, and they came back with a kind of like, okay, this is the budget, this is what we're willing to pay, and everything like that. And then my attorney, my entertainment attorney, or whatever, contract attorney guy, Harris Miller, who was representing people like Howard Chaykin and Walt Simonson. I had been introduced to him because I did Legends of the World's Finest with Walt for DC, the Superman Batman book.
Right.
And because I had done that sometime after the Psycho, I'd become a client of Harris's. And Harris said, well, you know, you've got this offer from Dark Horse, but I can get you much better deal with Malibu. And I said, Malibu? What are you talking about? Oh, you know, Malibu. They were the distributors for the Image stuff the first year. And they made a lot of money that way. And they wanted to do their own thing. And so Harris had pitched them on the idea of a kind of a Legend version of a creator-owned line for Malibu, with his clients like Howard and Walter and Gil Kane.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite a lineup. And because I was one of his, one of his clients, I was in that lineup, which I always thought was ridiculous, but that's okay.
Well, I don't think so.
I got over it. I got over myself or whatever. I mean, I got over the sort of the weirdness of being in that group of people. I remember Stephen Grant goes, "Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. You're good." But
Dan, you're one of the best talents.
All right. Okay.
I'm getting run off the stage.
No, this isn't the Apollo.
Okay.
Three.
Stealth X5 for $2 says that's a kiwi, I think. A potato. Is that a ham? Hawk? A chicken leg? Fried egg, butter, cookie, and a cup of coffee to finish it off. Thank you so much for that meal. Sorry to interrupt your tale there. Hey, there's Dave Ulbrich. I remember actively recruiting Dan to get the Nocturnals. There you go.
Yeah, Dave was the first person that I showed it to at Malibu, and he just said something like, God, I wish I could remember. For years, I could remember what it was he said, but he was just like, he thought it was so kooky. And to be honest, the first time I showed it to him, I thought that he kind of was like, what? That's weird. You know, like he wasn't really into it. But later on, he goes, no, I thought it was really cool. And, you know, it's one of the reasons why he ended up doing it with us, is because he liked it. And yeah, Dave's a great guy. I have fond feelings for Dave and fond memories of that time.
Dave was, I still love the Malibu guys. It's still my favorite time working for those guys.
Yeah.
With those guys. It was
You were doing Sludge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a Sludge cover that never got used.
Oh, really?
Really?
I did a couple of covers that never got used. I don't know why.
Dave.
Yeah, Dave, who
Oh, it's not
like
Dave.
your buddy Dave apparently screwed you over, Dan. That's
No,
what it
no, no,
sounds
it's
like.
not Dave. I remember I did 2 firearm covers, and the second they used one, and then the second one was firearms sitting in a chair in like someone's study full of books on shelves, and all the books were like crime fiction books. And he's like pointing a gun at someone off screen, and there's like a light coming in from the window, and I was so proud of that piece. And then they used it as the wallpaper for the letters page, so you couldn't even barely see it. In fact, I almost missed it.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite firearm covers you did.
Oh, no, I guess I did 3
Look at this, man.
Yeah,
Dan Lawless has got the he's got the collection.
Can you tell I'm kind of a fan?
So
Yeah,
open up that one firearm, that one there. Open it up and look in the back where the letters page is. I love that you have this, Dan. Is there a letters page for the book? That's not the letters page. That's the Stan soapbox.
At the back.
There it is, right there.
Right there.
Look, you can see behind it.
What?
It is my cover. And you can see his face in the center. He's kind of splayed out in the chair, and there's books behind him. That's how they used a $2,000 cover.
Dave Olbrich, you got some explaining to
do. Yeah, not Dave's call. Seriously, Dave was off doing other things, I'm sure, but
it was Hank Canals, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Billy Tucci says, "Holy crap! The great Dan Brereton, salute,
Billy, the great Billy Tucci."
Yeah, don't.
That's looking beautiful. Look at that! Wow, it's amazing. Dave did turnarounds for a Gunwitch action figure doll that Graffiti wanted to do and never happened. You remember that, Dave?
Yeah.
Yep. And if you have scans of those.
I certainly do not.
I have I think I have Xeroxes or something somewhere, but I would put those in the book. I'd probably put these pieces you guys are doing in the book. I have like there's a section in the book that's kind of the rogues gallery of guest artists in the new book. And I've been finding a lot of things that people had done over the years. Like I found a Tony Zuniga Gunwitch that I didn't even realize I had.
I saw a Bruce Timm Gunwitch. I was looking through your stuff on the internet, and there was a Bruce Timm Gunwitch. I thought that was cool.
He did that for the same reason that Dave did his. It was for the Oni Press trade paperback of the first series.
But did Tim give you the artwork?
Well, yeah. Tim,
Dave still hasn't given you his artwork.
So not only do I own that.
Shut up.
No, Dave didn't, but that's okay.
Just saying.
Well, Dave and I didn't do a trade. I would have done a trade with Dave if he wanted to.
But you got artwork of mine.
Yeah.
Like you don't.
You actually, Dave, you gave me the piece that you did. The piece that you did for that trade paperback, you gave it to me. So I have no complaints. I love that piece. It says thanks to Dan Brereton for his Nocturnals, which I thought was very sweet. But that piece that you're talking about is hanging in my wall. And then I got about at least a dozen sketches and drawings that he did along with it, because when Bruce does something for someone, he's not ever happy the first time out.
Nope.
So he ends up doing a lot of starts and finishes and sketches and all these other things. So he gave me this packet, this envelope full of drawings. Some are blue line sketches. One of them is the Gunwitch, like a Big Daddy Roth, like hot rod thing. They're Kirby versions. So I've only put like maybe just the one piece into a book so far. So some of those other ones are going to show up in the book as well. So they'll be there. I'm kind of excited about that.
Hey, is this right, Dan? I have a bunch of crazy stuff coming out of her pumpkin.
She has her pumpkin. Yeah. So she's kind of a medium. So when she came, they came from another world through like a kind of a portal or what they call the gateway. And so when they came from their world to our world, she kind of brought along something happened when she went through and came to Earth, because now she's like a magnet for ghosts. So they're attracted to her, and so she some of them come and live inside the dolls inside of her collection, and she carries them around in her pumpkin. All the toys, most of the toys in her collection at home, like in her room and stuff, are inhabited by spirits. ghosts.
Aaron, can you show this to Dan to see if it looks okay?
Show what?
What I'm working on. See if I'm doing it right.
Okay. You're just trying to flex right now. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, there's like a crab claw and a wing. That's amazing. Look at that.
Wow. One of Katie's clients.
Are you? Yeah. You're not doing anything. There's no wrong.
Okay.
Wow. There's no wrong. That's what you would tell someone.
Very diplomatic.
A kid at a show getting a critique.
I'm gonna go John Malin on him and draw a penis coming out of this. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no! Well, then I couldn't put it in my book. I'd have to.
Hey, how old is your daughter now?
She is. Let's see. She was born in '86. So.
Oh my God.
She'll be 39 in September.
Wow, isn't that
crazy?
Now
you're old.
Think about that.
Yeah, I know. I try not to think about it.
Now, does your characters does like Halloween Girl get older in the stories, or does she stay the same age?
She has aged to a certain degree because I think she was 8 back when it came out in '94, and now she's probably like around 12. She's definitely at least. I don't want to say 13 because that makes her a teenager. So I want to keep her like a kid. So she's like probably never going to get older than 12 or 13.
Okay.
You know. And the reason for that is just because I want to tell stories about a kid character, not a, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you already got your adult characters.
Yeah, you have exactly. You have your adult characters, and I can write the adult stuff for them. And
well, she's interesting because she's a kid, and that in a story where a kid is in sort of in jeopardy at sometimes, you got the parent sort of. Well, she's got a lot of parental kind of. Characters that kind of protect her, which is kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, definitely has that kind of family. It's a family feeling, and
right.
And I think one of the reasons that Doc is so invested in like fighting monsters is because not just because they happen to end up in a town that's full of them, but because I think he feels like if he can destroy all the monsters, if he can make all the evil, neutralize all the evil, then she won't have to when she's older. And then clearly she's being groomed for something greater, and that's one of the next story that I'm working on now. It's called Darkly. That's the graphic novel. It's all drawn, and I've been painting pages of it. I've got about 20 pages painted.
Hey, have you crowdfunded any of your graphic novels, or do you get other publishers to do that and you just do your art books?
So Sinister Path was the first one that I had crowdfunded from start to finish.
Okay.
And that's why it's taking me so long to get another Nocturnals book out, because I'm doing it under my own steam, and so it's just taking longer to get it done. And I really want to get it done because I have another one to do after that. It's like I said, it's a trilogy. So, and the trilogy is about her. It's about her and her mother. It sort of deals with her mother and sort of the unanswered questions about her and what became of her and where she is. Is she still around? Is she alive? So that seemed like a kind of an obvious way to go with her story arc. And she's at the forefront of the story in ways that she wasn't in the beginning. It was more Doc's story in the beginning, and now it's really become more about her. And I think it's because she's just a really interesting character to me. And I think because she's a kid in this crazy world, this very dangerous world, I think there's a lot of interesting storytelling there. There's a lot of interesting story that you get out of that.
Yeah. Well, you can care about her easily too, because she's a girl, And that's the thing about a story. You want to care about the character, then you put them through a dangerous situation, and people get involved in that. They get invested,
Exactly. And to have her be, I'll be honest, when I first did the book, I didn't think anyone was going to like her character because she was a little kid. She was a little kid. She talked like a little kid. I thought she was instantly likable, like totally.
Yeah.
But there just weren't a lot of characters like her in comics.
Right.
And I thought, well, they're not going to really get her. I figured they'd like the Gun Witch because he's mysterious and cool and everything. But I didn't see Eve becoming as popular as she would, which is very gratifying to me.
Well, I think it again taps into that motif of Kitty Pryde and Wolverine kind of thing, where you've got the big tough guy, and that's sort of sweet, that he would defend her,
Right.
And
so just like that sort of the babysitter character. And another thing about her, that there's so many stories I want to tell with these characters. There's so many things I want to explain about them. And so I wasn't, because I haven't been able to do that as much as I would like to over the years. When it came to the point where it was time to do like a kind of a 20th anniversary art book, which I did put out, called Nocturnals Legend. It went from being just an art book of a collection of art that I'd done the last 20 years, and became its own thing that was more about the characters. And what was cool about it was that all the text in the book, and it's a big book, it's a 9x12 really thick book. All the text is in their words. It's of them. It's not me. It's letters, journals, diaries, interviews, all in the voices of the characters. And so people who were interested in the stories and the characters would be able to kind of dive into them. And there's backstory and there's some origin stuff that I don't have in any of the other stuff that I was able to put in there. And that was so fun to do. And I'm so glad I went that route, because the idea of just talking about, because basically it would have just been a conversation like we're having, in the form of an art book. And I just, at that time, I didn't want to do that. It was not my interest. I wanted to tell more stories with them and keep that going. And I was able to do that with this format. And I hope people liked it. I mean,
oh, this stuff's great, Dan. This stuff's great. Look at Katie Dead, causing problems. Looking good so far, Dan Lawless. I like how she singles out Dan, but nobody else. Oh, are you inking already?
He did.
Yeah.
Respect.
Geekview Tavern says, hang on a second, let me make Dan bigger. Ooh, look at that. Pressure's on. All right. I see what you're doing. Very nice.
Look how much of the rifle I'm not drawing.
Yeah.
I've managed to cover up.
Yeah. I thought you loved guns.
The important part.
I don't really. I mean, it's just a function, I mean, one of the characters in the Nocturnals doesn't carry a gun anymore. Well, she kind of does, but she doesn't really want to anymore. And that's Starfish. She became in the last book.
Yeah, the fish girl. I always liked her too.
Yeah, she became the queen of the sea monsters in the Dark Forever book. At the end of this, she kind of discovers her ancestry and her kind of place in the world. And so she became sort of the queen of the sea monsters. And so she spends a lot more time underwater. And in this story, she comes out, she comes back on land to help look for one of the characters who goes missing. And which was very sweet of her to do. But she doesn't like people very much. And there's a scene where she has to go into a bar looking for the raccoon. And it's very clear she doesn't like people, which I kind of love about her.
Well, you know what I really admire, or always admired about Nocturnals. I mean, I'm a monster guy, so I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway. But you did a great job of designing all the characters so that, I mean, if you said design a fish girl and make her attractive, I would be going, what? And you pulled it off. And all your characters are very identifiable, but they're also they're so unique in their look that you know who the characters are. It's not like you're confusing someone with somebody else. It's just a really nice job of design so that the characters are not only likable, but distinctive.
Yeah. Well, Dan knows this stuff as far as drawing. He knows how to construct faces and figures and all that kind of stuff. So he can make them different. Yeah. It's still beautiful.
When I was in art school, there was a lot of emphasis put on the fact that illustrators use photo reference, right? And so if you had turned in something in class, the teacher would say, did you shoot scrap for that hand? Saying that the hand wasn't strong. Maybe your hand could have been stronger. Why didn't you shoot reference for it? Or why didn't you,
I see, yeah.
And that makes sense, And so when I was doing the first comic book pages that were painted, which were the Black Terror stuff that I ended up getting my first gig with, I decided that I didn't want all my characters just to look the same, have the same kind of Brereton face and I was really getting into the idea of being an illustrator and so I had my friends and my family to kind of help me there, and I could base characters on some of them. So my dad has a very distinctive face, and he ends up being in a lot of the stuff I've done. And like I said, Dave was in at least one project.
I think it was more than that.
Yeah, it's probably, but Dave also we cut because there was a distance at some point where it was harder to get certain people. I would have used Dave a lot more. Dave, you're actually in an issue of another Hudnall book called Interface, and it was a kind of a bunch of side characters, like ionic characters, and Dave was one of those guys. He was like the Jamaican guy, and so Dave had this cool
man.
His poses were really cool, and that was a painted thing that I stopped working on the Psycho for like 3 months so I could do that issue. It was the last issue, and I did it it was an epic comic, and I did it as a favor to Jim. And I remember also I had a couple of artists who drew some of the scenes. Like I had Tony Salmons did like a couple of flashback scenes in the story, and then he drew them in ink, and then I colored them with watercolor. Kind of a neat thing. But yeah, Dave, you were definitely in there, and I would have used Dave a lot more, and other people too. There were people I remember when Damien, when you introduced me to Damien.
Oh yeah.
And I ended up putting him in the last battle. He became like, and then Dave actually did the photo shoot. So I sent Dave thumbnails of the stuff I needed for the pages, for the layouts, and then Dave used those to, which I laughed because it couldn't have been that clear. But Dave used those to do a photo shoot with Damien, so I could put Damien in the story and not just have the idea based on, or inspired by Damien, but like put Damien in the story, which was really cool. And it made it a lot more fun because people would come by and they'd say, hey, you want to be in this? And hey, can you kill me in your next comic? Stuff like that. People want to kill them in their next book. Or
was it really a function of Dave like showing up for dinner at your house all the time? You're like, well, I might as well use him in the comic. He's going to be here all the time.
He come to my house for dinner.
Yeah.
Kidding me?
Okay.
Hey, Glitch says interface number 8, 1990.
Is it number 8? Oh, I always thought it was number 9, but I guess it is number 8. If they say so, that's the one. That was it was a pretty fun book to do. It was basically everything about it is very dreamlike. It's very like the characters are sort of like stuck in someone's dream, and it has a lot of really. What is this? Oh, Cassidy's showing you running a photo of her. You know what you do? Go get the present I did for her. Bring that on that. You and the bird. Can you ask Mom to take it off the wall and you can bring it up here to show them?
Yeah, we want to see it.
Your dad more stuff to show.
It's a present for my wife's birthday and Mother's
Day. Tell Chartreuse to come in and say hello to me.
Hey Cassidy, tell Mom that Dave wants her to come up and say hello. Maybe she'll do it. I hope she will. Yeah, I know, because it's been a while since that she doesn't really do shows with me anymore. So
when did you stop doing San Diego? Because you're the guy, you and Bill Stout would always tell me, Aaron, you got to get a booth. You got to get a booth, man. You got to get a booth. Yeah. And you had one for the longest time, but then
we got tired of Artist Alley, right?
Yeah.
Artist Alley was, the tables at one point, weren't the tables like 3 feet or something?
Yeah.
Yep. And, 1 chair and 3 feet.
Yeah. Well, now, it's funny. WonderCon is now 1 chair. It's a 6-foot table, but it's 1 chair, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So so John Estes and Kieran Dwyer and we got together and we got a corner booth, and then other people followed after that, but we weren't the first to do it. It was Dave Stevens and Bill Stout were doing it, and some other more established guys. Yeah, hold on. So this was like a present for Chartreuse that I just did yesterday for her.
Hang on, let me bring you up here.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
That's beautiful. Look at that.
Wow. Oh, wooden panel.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Cassidy and is
hello,
ringneck parrot Fiona.
It's like what you're doing or something.
That's
I didn't realize, Dan, that you knew what you were doing. I thought that we were faking it this whole time.
Fake it till you make it.
Great.
So wait, here's Chartreuse. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, stranger. How you doing? It's been a while.
Dave, because Dave,
you got all nothing but art.
At you. See, he's not on camera because they're drawing. So everyone's drawing. So it's Gary and Aaron. I don't know if you ever met Aaron Lopresti. Have you guys met? Have you met Chartreuse?
I think we have.
Pretend like
Chartreuse. Just act like you've met me before.
Yeah. Amazing artists who have never met in person, but we're having all good conversation right now, and they're all drawing the Nocturnals. Oh my gosh! Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah. So it's just showing. Wow, Dan, that's beautiful. Wow. Are you? Oh, you're just. Are you doing just graphite right now?
Yep.
Okay. You're doing some nice darks in there.
Wow. Dave Ulrich is being a smartass. Says if Gunwitch only comes out at night, why does he need a sun hat?
A sun hat?
It's Dave Ulrich for you.
That's funny. Did Dave Ulrich ask that question?
Yes.
Yes.
Did he really?
Yes.
Yeah, the big sun hat. Well, it's a witch hat.
Because it looks cool.
Well, let's put it this way. He didn't pick it. I think Eve picked it for him. He liked how it looked. All right.
Yeah.
Best name I can think of for $5 says, just curious, Dan, do you ink the page before you switch to painting with gouache, or do you
Call
paint
from
right on top
Kevin
of the
G.
pencils?
Oh, hold on a second. I think
I'm
that's
sorry.
my phone. Is that my phone?
It's my phone.
That's
Oh,
David.
sorry. I was like, okay, I didn't recognize any of that stuff that was going on there.
That's Kevin, right?
Sorry,
Yes,
no.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Should I
Come on.
answer it?
Yeah.
Oh, it went off. Never mind. He hung
Hold
up.
on a second. I got thrown off my
Throw off your game here.
yeah. I don't know how to get out of here now. Hold on a second. My phone like went to its, what do you call it? I don't know even what you call that. It's just like a lock, like on a lock screen right now. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix this. Here we go. Here we go. All right.
There
so
you're back. Okay.
Someone have a question? Was there a
Yeah,
question?
Dan. Best name I can think of for $5 says, just curious, do you ink the page before you start painting with gouache, or do you paint right on top of the pencils?
Oh, okay. So what I tend, there's actually a piece on my underneath here that I'm working on. It's a cover for for a book, for a horror novel. Let's see. All right, now you just lost me again, but I know.
Now you're gone.
Like a child who's walked into a room full of adults. Let's see. How do I do this? Can you see that?
Yeah. Hang on a sec. Let me make it bigger. Don't. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, that's nice.
Wow.
So let's go a little bit to your to your left.
Yeah, to your left. Your left. You're going
no,
right.
he's probably opposite. Go to your right. Go the other direction. There you go. Right there. Right there.
Perfect.
So it's like a scarecrow. Crow is this cracked. It's just. I've just started it. You know what I mean? It's not the. You know what I mean? I still have a lot to work to go on it, but that's the basics. And so it's my friend James Moore was a very prolific author who passed away last year, and they're releasing all his books, and I've done about 5 new covers for his novels, and this will be the 6th one. And Christopher Golden is in charge of it. He's been doing the editing and stuff. And
so you're doing your darks, you're doing gouache for your like shadow areas and your line work, your darker areas, and then you're going watercolor over the top of that.
Yeah, this is watercolor paper. So I do a pencil drawing with my 2H, right? 2H.
Yeah.
What I usually use. And then, and then go back in there. And then I take a brush. Let's see, where's the nice brush that I like to use? Let's see. It's a Trinkel something or other. I think it's what is it called here? What do they call that? Can barely read what it's called. Prototype Protege Plus, I think it's called. Anyway, it's a Trinkel. Okay, it's a Trinkel brush. It's got a nice long taper for doing line work, but you have to be really light with it, and you kind of have to get a little loosey goosey. So it's good for that. And then if I start to get too loosey goosey, like this crow, his beak was a little too long and large, I went with the gouache over the watercolor, because this is all watercolor, and then I kind of firm it up a little bit. But this is a gouache line with a watercolor and maybe some gouache for the midtones. This is pretty much watercolor, but that's a gouache line. So I block it in with a gouache line rather than using a dark black line.
Right.
I have some pens I can use for that. Like I really like the Zebra. I'm gonna put myself back on here. I like the Zebra pen. I don't know if you guys use these or not.
Yeah, I do.
Zig? Is it Zebra? Zig? No, it's not Zig. It might be the same company that makes the Zig. But
no, I've got that exact same. I've been using that pen right now.
What really annoys me, I have so many of them. I mean, I buy them in bulk. They never want to run out, Yeah. But I found these other ones. They have 2 other sizes. They're okay. But then they have these gray ink ones that I thought would be perfect because I like the idea of a gray ink line. But the only problem is, as you may know, is they're not permanent. These are permanent, but I don't know why the gray ones aren't. It makes me crazy. This is another one that I use a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever used this one. It's a white brush pen.
Oh, no, we don't.
I got one of those.
This is the best white brush pen I have ever used.
Really?
It is so great. Not only can you actually, is the ink the perfect sort of like thickness for drawing with or painting over, you can paint over it. You can get it wet. Like when I want to clean this brush so it doesn't dry out, which it never does, I can just get it wet in the water, or I can even dilute it if I want to. But they're not cheap. Kuretake makes them. Zig.
Yep.
There's Lee Cozy gave me one, and I think they're indispensable. They're so great.
I am totally into Kuratakes now. I think I don't know if David turned me on to them or who, but
like here's a I don't use Tombow so much. Like I think this is a Kuretake. I don't know. Is it? You tell me. Is that a Kuretake? No, it's a Pentel color brush. I think this particular one is permanent. There's also a gray one I use a lot that is made Cambio by, I think it's Cambio Bimoji. I don't know. A lot of it's in Japanese. I buy them on Amazon. It's a gray brush pen, and it does a nice gray line. I can actually dip it in the water if I want to dilute it. Man, I really love this brush pen too for doing monochromatic stuff. So I've done whole pieces where I've done this with the line, and then I'll take this to do my tones, my values, and then I can go over that with watercolor on the watercolor paper. So I've done a ton of things like that, and that actual way of working is so much faster than painting sometimes, So I could have done that with this one, but because the other ones are done in a similar fashion where I'm using gouache and watercolor, I wanted to kind of keep it that way. Also, when you're doing like a cover for like a horror novel, you don't want to get too cartoony because there's like a certain kind of standard in illustration that we have the opportunity to do something slightly different than we would in comics. That wouldn't necessarily be out of bounds in comics, but there's certainly things you can do in comics that wouldn't work for the cover of a horror novel. Right. People to take seriously, right? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I do.
So, and as far as this one goes, because I'm doing this painting, and I don't, like I said, I could have used the black pen, but I just didn't want to have that dark of a color. But normally, if I do that, I would just paint over it, or I do so much layering. So the actual line work for the scarecrow piece I showed you is this chocolate Turner acrylic gouache. The color is chocolate, but it's not really chocolate. It's more of a really brownish purple. Where's the top? Why can't I get it on there? There it is. Let's see. I don't know if you can see.
I was hoping for some chocolate.
The reddish.
They'll never mention food on these shows because it's always like
right into your mouth.
I got some chocolate right here. I've got some 72% The few dark chocolates that doesn't have lead in it, boys.
Doesn't have lead in it. That's important.
There's a whole thing about lead in dark chocolate, but you don't get it in Ghirardelli, so it's safe. But anyway,
Are you telling me to not get Ghirardelli? Is that what you're telling me?
No, Ghirardelli is the one
safe.
Is one of the few that doesn't have higher. Well, anything that has lead is bad, right?
Yeah.
But this have enough lead that it shows up, so it's safe. But they're finding out that a lot of these organic dark chocolates, and maybe even Cadbury or some like big brand names, they tested them and they have like lead in them. Same thing with toothpaste. Thing is out about toothpaste. So now I'm buying different toothpastes that don't have lead in them, that taste funny, and don't have fluoride in them either. It's like, I would like fluoride, I just don't want lead. Is it possible to get that? I mean, I don't.
You would think
lead-free.
Just not have
fluoride.
Have the fluoride, but not the lead.
Aaron, what's the clock situation?
We should be wrapping up here in a few minutes. How you doing, Dan?
Well, this painting is doing really good, but the drawing of the Gunwich is so yeah. So I mean, not too bad.
Gary, is that you?
Work on and I can finish. I can work on in color, or
Okay, well let's go another. Let's go another. Can you go another 10 minutes, Dan? Brereton?
What time is it? What time is it? Pacific time.
It's 4:10 right now.
It's 4:10.
Yeah.
Oh, I can go till 5 if I have to.
Well, let's go, you guys. Let's go till 4:30. I got a show to do, another show at 5.
Yeah,
so
let's
go till 4:30. That's another 20
He's very
minutes.
popular, Dan.
Well, what are you doing at 4:30, Aaron?
No,
He's got another live stream.
I got a Star Trek show.
Wow.
I have a Star Trek show I do with Ron Garney, Graham Nolan, and Anna, the Star Wars girl, Star Trek girl.
Cool. That's cool. A Star Trek girl?
Yeah.
The green gal from
No.
that's Yvonne Craig.
She's a YouTuber.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that would be Aaron's dream to actually live stream with a green girl from Star Trek.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of point something out. No one asked, and probably no one cares, but so the things that hang from the Gunwitch's hat are gall wasp nests, also called oak galls. So the gall wasp injects some fluid into the branch of the oak tree, and it creates this round thing that you've seen them on oak trees. They grow all over them sometimes, and they're kind of a brownish, light brown color. And that's the nest for the gall wasp, and they eat their way out, and then they fly away, and then the thing finally turns to black and falls off the tree. And so I always used to see these when we would go out in the woods and stuff. And so I had this idea that he would wear them hanging from his hat to keep the moths away, because I always feel like the Gunwitch has got moths trying to eat away at him and his clothing all the time, and that's the way to keep him out. So I can't really answer the question about the sun hat, but I can answer a question about that in case Dave thought maybe he might be curious about that. That's another one of those things where, like, I could tell a story about that. I could tell a story about where they come from. If I thought anyone cared, I could do it.
I think it's interesting.
He's
I like
laying down
backstory.
a hint here.
Well, sometimes people draw them as eyeballs. I've seen people do them a certain way, and it's kind of interesting. And it's no one's fault. It's just because how would you know what they were? Unless there's just no way to know. And it's really up to me as a storyteller. People know.
No, the fact that you put that much thought into it and didn't just say, I'm going to put some baubles on here because it looks cool. That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Well, I think you have to, I don't know, you sort of have to come up with something that makes sense. Otherwise, I don't know. Yeah, some people might say, Dan, you put way too much thought into stuff. But
I don't think you can ever do that. I mean, you can get away with not putting as much thought into stuff, but if you put extra thought into it, it just makes it a richer.
More is better, yes.
Experience.
Yeah, I remember when I first ran into Mike at that WonderCon, and Mike was showing pictures of Hellboy around and stuff, and I said, so what's going on here? Are those goggles? He goes, no, he saws off his horns so he can wear a hat. I said, oh, and then I remember, like, he never wears a hat, and I thought, okay, that's interesting, but there's a lot going on behind there.
So if he ever wanted to wear a hat, he'd be ready.
Yeah, he's totally set up to wear a hat if he needs to.
The thing is, I like the it kind of looks like goggles, which goggles are cool. So
yeah. But it added a unique sort of thing that you just weren't expecting and you wouldn't have thought of, and then later on you can play with that idea. It's like the hand. What's that with that hand?
That's very specific. That reminds me of a movie that Walter Matthau was in. And he was like, during this whole scene, he was like munching on these donuts. And then finally he said, "Hey, anybody want any jelly donuts with the jelly sucked out? They're ready." Very, very specific.
I didn't catch anybody want what my
anybody want donuts with the jelly sucked out? They're ready.
Oh.
Nasty.
What movie was that?
I can't remember.
That's hilarious.
He wasn't a main character. He was kind of like playing an agent or shoot. I wish I could remember the name of the movie.
Was that the one with the little girl character where he was like looking after the little girl, Little Miss Marker?
No.
Shoot. No, Dan, it wasn't that.
No.
Crazy.
It's crazy talk, Dan.
Little Miss Marker. Who's ever seen that movie? No one.
That wasn't it.
By the way, Hellboy was one of the movies that they nailed it. I mean, they got that character. That was a great movie from comics, rendition.
You talking about the first one?
I agree.
I think both of them really, but I like the first one was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing how they were able to do that because it's such a recipe for failure when you think about how are you going to, can you take this, bring this to can you take it to the big screen and keep as many of the original components as possible? And of course you can, but would they do it? Right. I mean, another example of a success, as I would say, The Crow.
Yep.
Is maybe one of the best comic book adaptations. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Alex Proyas worked closely with James, had James on the set, and people who were in the movie, with the exception of Jeffrey Wincott, actually listened to James and talked to James about the character. And it shows. Definitely shows. I remember seeing that.
Rarity for sure.
I saw that in the theater with a bunch of other comic book guys, like Jeff Johnson and John Estes. I remember who else.
John Estes. Oh my gosh.
John Estes. Remember Sleepy John Estes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was like one of his fun nicknames. I can't remember who came up with that one, but yeah, John. Oh, actually, Sleepy John Estes. That's isn't like a play on like a blues guy or something. Anyway, John. We went and saw it in the East Bay, and I always thought it was like a pretty great.
Was I there?
What's that?
Was I there?
I don't know because you're in Hayward, right? So
yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember?
I might have been there. I could have.
We went to we saw it in like San Ramon, somewhere in the East Bay, and there was this point where the movie had started and a bunch of teenage boys came in. And they were talking and laughing. And I turned around and I said, "Hey," like that. And they all got quiet, which I was like shocked because that wouldn't happen now. And then and then John goes, "Dan used the dad voice." I think you would have remembered that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because Dave has the dad voice, and everyone. Wait, who? Okay, so is everyone a dad in this group?
Yep.
Okay, everyone has the dad voice. They know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, do you remember going back to characters who you were saying you had to change a character's name or you didn't use a character? But do you remember Mike Allred had Madman wasn't Madman? He was
the spook.
He was the spook. Yeah.
David, but hey.
Yeah, well, he definitely. Now I don't know why he changed that name.
I liked it.
Ask him. What's that?
I liked the spook. I thought it was cool.
I did too.
But he got scared of Dennis Cowan because Dennis Cowan had it.
Oh, Dennis Cowan had a character called the Spook.
Yeah, and it came out like 10 years later.
Oh, but I didn't know that.
but he told Mike Allred, no, you can't use it because I'm using it. Like he used his black powers against Mike Allred and scared him into not using it.
So the character that Cowan was using was much more of like the name was sort of more like tongue in cheek, more ironic sort of thing. Title.
Yeah, because it was it was a black character. It
was a black.
He was gonna say nickname.
Yeah.
Come on. Exactly. You know, Dave told me, Mike told me that I didn't know anything about that story, by the way, but thank you for telling me. Mike told me that the reason that he took the stitches out was because of my character, the Psycho. He said,
really?
He said, well, you have your character, the Psycho, has kind of these. I go, well, they're not stitches, but they're sort of like lines, as if he has like a skull face. And he said he took the spooks away for that reason, and I never believed him. I really, to be honest, I mean, maybe he's telling the truth. You know, I don't want to call him a liar, but for some reason, I just thought, like, why would you do that for me? Like, who cares? You know?
Allred has always been the most honest, forthright person.
That's true. He has no reason. Right. He has no reason to lie. That's very true. Well, I don't. Maybe he's a little Asperger's. Maybe he can't lie. You know what I mean? Some people are like that. You know.
Well, maybe he gets sick if he lies, like that chick on Knives Out. You know, so he doesn't want to throw up on you, so he's got to tell you the truth.
That's very possible as well. I don't see why it couldn't be. But I thought I was flattered to hear that. I thought, wow, I like the fact that he cares about what other people are doing. Because there are a lot of people who've just gone and done what they wanted, like Mezco. Mez, who runs Mezco, came up with a character called Doc Nocturnal for a toy line. Mm-hmm. And this is a person who knows very well that the Nocturnals exist, because we talked about maybe doing toys, and that's never going to happen, I'm sure. But I was like, what's with this Doc Nocturnal guy, this pulp guy? And he goes, oh, he's nothing like your character. I mean, he's different. Well, yeah, but Nocturnals is a trademarked thing, and he was not just doing he didn't just do I don't want to throw the guy under the bus. He's a nice guy and everything, but I feel like he was really short-sighted to do that, and kind of disrespectful.
So I can come up with a character called Captain Nocturnals, and you'd be cool with that?
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't cool with it. It was and the thing is there was a comic that came out called it's out now. It's called Noctera. You guys know about that book?
No.
Oh, well, it's like a pretty famous DC writer guy writing it, and several issues, and it's called Noctera, but originally it was going to be called Nocturnia or something like that, and they were kickstarting it, and we sent them a letter and explained that Nocturnals was a registered trademark. You know, you have to pay money for that for comics, and then they changed the name to Noctera and said, what do you think about that? We were like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And then the book went on and sold like far more copies than Nocturnals ever will, but that's fine. You know, good for them. I mean, you know, kind of Superman writer guy. What's his name? The guy that writes Superman, or he's like
Phil.
He's like
a comic says Scott Snyder.
Scott Snyder, yeah. So Scott Snyder. There you go. So yeah, and then I guess they said there were a lot of other. They said they explained that there were other titles that were too close to it, and I was like, no, there's only one. I don't know what you mean by there's other ones. There's just the one.
All the other ones that have been ripping you off.
They could have said we don't want to step on Dan Brereton's toes. But they said, oh, there were just all these other ones. Like, so many Nocturnals out there. I was like, whatever, man.
The other infringers.
Yeah. There's so many other infringers. Yeah, because they would be as well. There's also like a kids series of storybooks with little woodland characters called the Nocturnals, and they got in there and started doing their stuff at a time when I hadn't renewed my copyright on Nocturnals. This was pre-2014, and then I went and did it, and then they didn't desist, and they wanted to share, and then they started copywriting all these other things, because when you trademark something, you can trademark it for specific things. You can trademark it for toys, you can trademark for comics and posters and all these different. So they trademarked every other.
And Dan
to try and trademark me into the ground, and it's like, it doesn't, whatever, you know what I mean? The only thing that really would become a problem or an issue is if they had a TV series going at a time when I was trying to get a TV series going. In which case, if I had to change the name to something else, I could, you know. But it is nice when people. Sorry, I went off. I had an alarm. My alarm keeps going off to tell me it's time to. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, sorry. It is nice when people care enough to show respect. You know, I mean, I think that's just a kind of a. In comics, I think you see a little more of that. But I mean,
toy people are ruthless.
It seems like a no-brainer to me. I don't know. To not step on people's toes, to come up with something that's fresh and original and doesn't sound like someone else's stuff.
You would think.
You know?
Get your comic book ethics out of here, buddy. This is
How dare you and your I know. Put on your big highfalutin ways.
Yes. Who do you think you are talking down to us?
Oh, I see. You think you're better than us.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm still gonna do Hellish Girl. That's not gonna stop me. Yep.
And Halloween Kid.
Yeah. Well, there's been Halloween Image at the same time they had Nocturnals out for a while. They had a book called Hallow Eve or Hallows Eve or something like that. And I was like, that's really close.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, your book isn't called that. It's really different. I was like, oh my God. Wow. They took people when Nocturnals was coming out from Malibu, and Malibu was having their financial troubles, and Marvel bought them. Marvel put out a book when Nocturnals was on the stands called Nocturne.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how many issues that went for, but I was like, I remember seeing that and going, really? Are you kidding me? You know, it's like, you can't. I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's hard to like defend something that's a word out there, but like no one else thought of it before I did, and then to come in later. It's just like I wouldn't do it. And you know who else wouldn't do it? Marv Wolfman wouldn't do it.
No.
He actually, I was doing a signing with him in '95 in San Diego because he had he was doing a Bravura book called Man Called Axe with Sean McManus, the great Sean. You ever had Sean McManus on?
No, I was just thinking about reaching out to him. I love his stuff.
Super cool guy, and he's real funny, super talented, man. He draws. Mm-hmm. Jeez, he's good. I met him for the first time in Boston last summer, and we really hit it off. Super nice guy. Anyway, they were doing a book, and I was sitting with him at a signing, and probably at the Malibu table or something, and sitting next to Marv, and Marv says, "Nocturnals, such a great name." I said, "Oh, thanks, man." And then like we're signing more books and stuff, and then he says. This is like maybe 5 minutes later. Nocturnals. I can't believe I didn't think of it. I love that he shared that with me. I really do. I mean, I love that he shared that with me. I'm not even, I love that was on his mind because it's kind of what you would have expected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you hear something that it rings for you, sometimes you do have that kind of, wow, why didn't I think of that? You know, so that was a real compliment. Took that
a sequential artist says Pistol Warlock.
So you know what his he has like a 19th century persona, the Gun Witch, when he was still alive, and he was called the Six Gun Sorcerer. So yeah,
Gun Witch is better, a little bit more concise.
Like the idea was that he was an Old West figure who fled the country, probably because he was wanted or something, for Europe, and joined a Wild West show in Europe. It traveled around, and he wore a mask, and he was called the Six Gun Sorcerer because he was so good. And then that's another backstory for another day.
Well, speak of the devil, here's Dan's campaign. That's what do you got here? 4 more days to go. Yep. Nocturnals 31 years of Nocturnals, and this looks like a fantastic art book.
tons of like original art options as well as portfolios and prints, and every book comes signed.
That's right.
This looks great. This looks fantastic.
Yeah,
I got your Night Owls. Was that the first book you did?
No, Night Owls, I think, was the second one I did on my own. I did Night Studio. I had like a night theme. Night Studio, Night Owls. And then in 2022, I did By the Blade, which is like a kind of a sword and sorcery. You can get all these books through the Kickstarter too. But what's really cool is like when you do Patreon and Kickstarter, and the main thrust of it is commissions and artwork, right? Because as a creator, we can do something that other people can't do with their Kickstarters. Is we can create product ourselves,
right,
through artwork. And so I do that with Patreon, and I do that with Kickstarter. And so there's all this work that accrues over the year, and I have material to do another book. So I have actually material to do 3 books, 2 or 3 books right now. I have a.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. You take the commissions, and those commissions become your next book.
Yeah. So they're kind of they're racking up. So I have another sword and sorcery book I can do. I have a superhero related one that I can do, and yeah. So it kind of just like a machine that just keeps generating. So it's a very
self-sustaining.
Yeah, self-sustaining.
That's the word you're looking for?
Kind of, yeah, sure, why not? Kinetic, self-sustaining, self-fulfilling prophecy.
You're so polite.
No, but you know it's true though. But it's true. It's
not even close, Aaron. That's what you should have said.
Engine that creates it's generating while it's working. So I mean that's kind of what you want. You want your work to work for you.
Right.
Which is like when you create a character that you own and you've spent all this time doing those pages to make the story. You've spent all those hours to create that story. At a certain point, it would be nice if the character then started to work for you. And that's what you really hope for.
Yeah, slackers.
When it comes to things like TV shows and movies and animation and stuff, that's kind of what you hope for, is that you put all this work into it, and then it's going to work for you. Somehow it's going to come back and it's going to benefit you past the time that you sat down and you sweated over those pages. Because people don't really realize how much work making a comic book is. It's so much work.
We do.
And I know you got, well, no, I know. I'm
being a smart ass. Let me remind everybody, there is a link in the description of this video to take you to this campaign. You can also get like Dan's back issues, back books, and there's even a right down here near the bottom. It says shop Dan Brereton's catalog of books, big wow art, and there's a link there to get like back issues, or you can just order them through the campaign, which is what I think Dan would probably prefer, because that's what you're trying to do, is raise money for this book. So,
well, I'll tell you what, the store will be open regardless of whether the campaign's going or not. And also, I think you have the option with Kickstarter now to late back things. So even when it's over, you'll be able to go in there and find stuff. But yeah, any way you want to do it, like I said, if you want to go to Bud's Art Books, you can do that too. I'm really good friends with Bud Plant. I live close by. He's probably the only retailer that orders stuff for me on a regular basis. So yeah, there's any number of ways to do it. Well, basically there's 3, but still that's a lot. That's a lot, you guys.
All right, I hate to do this because we're having so much fun, but I'm gonna have to start bringing this thing to a close. And I want to take a little credit. I'm actually the first one done. Instead of me extending time so I can finish, I have extended time to you guys. But now what we do, Dan, it's the moment of truth. We go around the horn here.
Hang on a second.
And, show what we. And I'm going to start. I will start.
Aaron can't wait to show his.
Let's give these guys some time to get their accoutrements together.
Okay, here we go. It's.
Oh wow.
All right.
Ghost Girl.
So it's time to pot, sort of, at the 2.5 hour mark.
Exactly.
Okay, no problem. I can do that.
There is my version of polychrome.
That's gorgeous.
Wow. That turned out awesome.
Yeah.
Look at those abs.
I love the midriff, man. That's my favorite part to work on these.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's great.
All right. So I went full color to
Fantastic.
I wanted to put a little pressure. I didn't know if Dan was going to do full color or not, and I didn't want to risk it. So
I didn't even do any color, but
okay. Well, no, that's good. Then I feel better about myself.
wait, let me get some color in here real quick while you're doing this. Wow.
Okay.
Dave, you went so for it.
This is on the verge of being really good. Unfortunately, it's not finished, so Dave becomes disqualified.
Oh,
no. I know it's terrible.
That's what you guys do. You disqualify. What is it? Disqualify?
No, only me.
No, Aaron. Yeah, no, Aaron.
Aaron
it's
makes
his
these
show,
rules.
So, you know.
Yeah,
he makes up the rules.
whoever I feel is threatening me, I disqualify them.
Oh, okay.
So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, please, David, please finish this.
yeah, you got to finish this.
You must
man.
be
This
a lot
is
of
gonna
fun
be
to play
awesome.
dominoes with.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what you can do is you can have Dan put this in his book. Tell him you'll send him the original artwork, and then never do it.
You know what? All I need is a scan. I don't even need the original artwork. But please finish them, and if you finish them, I will put them in the book. I would love to do that.
David, send the artwork to me, and I'll send it to him.
Yeah, that's what Gary will do.
Okay.
Gary will hang on to it for 5 years, and then maybe.
Gary, do you still have that Gun Witch and Halloween Girl painting, that giant one?
Sadly, when things were thin for me, I had to sell it.
Oh my gosh! I
knew
remember you
only
did have that, didn't you?
Yeah,
I would
it was
love
a great piece.
Yeah, I wish I had just even a copy of it.
It was, yeah, me too. It was huge. Wasn't it like 18 by 24?
It was really big. So yeah, I mean, it was not one of those things that would. At least, yeah, probably 18 by 24, maybe bigger. I don't know.
Look at this Dan Lawless piece right here.
Wow,
this is great.
That's amazing. Wow, I'm so flattered and honored. Let me tell you, I mean, this has been so fun.
Dude, we are honored to have you. So
really, no shitty. No.
You don't even know what it's like to see.
Wait a second.
I think there's a validation when people pick up a pen and start drawing your character. Like even if I just type in Gun Witch, like the other day I just typed in Nocturnals or Gun Witch, and I found all these drawings that people had done, like fan drawings or commission things that people had done of the character, and I just started putting them up on my Instagram as stories. And it was just so cool, like because I see this stuff over the years. It's neat and everything, but it's gratifying to know that you've reached somebody, with your work. That is the coolest thing. So
look at that! Yeah. Look at that kind of Wrights-y Frazetta hand that Halloween Girl has. Look at that.
Oh yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's got the whole Frazetta. That's what we call the Frazetta claw here at my house.
Yeah, that's nice.
Everyone I know is everyone in my family is familiar with the Frazetta claw. My brother-in-law will come up to me when I go visit my sister. He comes up and he goes, "What do you think of this?" And he crooks his hand. He crooks his hand, and
great work, Dan.
Like, here you go, right? And then I have to go in and I have to go, okay, let me fix it.
Yeah.
Get it just
you gotta
right.
get that hand at the right.
Yeah. More angst.
Yeah. Which who knows where he got it from? I'm sure he got it from someone.
Look at this. Sean Allen says Dan is flawless. So he's saying Dan Lawless is flawless.
Well, I would say he's the original flawless and more flawless than I am.
I don't know about that, Dan. I mean, I have long admired your work, Mr. Lawless. That is very true. In fact, all you guys, it's really been interesting to see like Aaron, because I remember, Aaron and I met going way back.
When I really sucked.
No, but your work has transformed and evolved. Not everybody does that. Some people, they get better, they evolve, but I don't know. There's something about your work that's really, I don't know. I think it was
what you're saying. What you're saying is Aaron's work started as really sucking to now it's interesting.
Oh my God! Wow. Only a friend could say that, and I just hope you don't mean it. But
no. Hang on.
Oh, we tear each other apart here, Dan.
Hang on a second.
Uh-oh.
Your drawing is interesting.
There it is.
What was that?
That's
scary.
little
That's
G.
little G.
That's little G. Hang on a second. Spam.
Oh, man, look
Sorry.
at that. Look at that.
Sorry.
Hang on a second. Wait a second. Very slender and heterosexual work all around. Good show. I don't know what that means, but thank you. All right, let's take a look at Dan's. There you go. Now you got full screen. Show us what you got.
Wow.
Man, if only
And you did that while you were talking.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
If only you were finished, you could be declared the winner. But since you're not, I get to win.
I think I'm
No.
finished, Aaron. I think I am finished. I mean, I could do a little bit more noodle, but I mean, it's done.
Well,
I'm
you
gonna
have
say
a little
finished.
color
Okay,
on
so
the shirt,
yeah, in that
folks.
case, you win.
Yeah,
Okay.
you won. You
All
won.
right.
Definitely, it's not
Dan
done.
wins.
All right, Dan wins then. Gosh darn it.
No, I don't have to win. I think, Aaron, you got so far along with yours. Can we see yours again? Can we see yours again? Look at that.
Come on, Aaron. Show
Look at
yours
that.
again.
That is
Yeah,
really
Dan,
nice,
you win.
though. That is really nice.
No. You're done. You're done. And then it's an illustration.
Yeah,
don't
I
know,
signed
mine-
it. It's finished.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
that's,
I wasn't sure if I
that
should
put
do
him
that or
over
not.
the top.
Oh, and I signed it. That makes all the
He
difference in
signed
the
it.
world. No, it's gorgeous.
But once
And I
again,
love your
yeah, Dan,
blotter,
you were
too.
disqualified because you didn't sign it.
I love your blotter. You're just. I love the creativity of the canceling of people's, eligibility. Very,
You gotta-
very creative and clever.
Dan, you got to do what you got to do, man. You know what I'm
Twist
saying?
the rules to win. You're not
Well,
the
it's
first
really,
person to think
that's
of
the
it.
thing, Dan. It's not a competition. It's just a friendly gathering of people in a
Yes, of
studio
course.
setting. And
Of course. No, I,
He always
I
says
think
it when he
we're-
loses.
now, see, I just know next time if you have me back, I will. I'm gonna have to get crafty and
Oh,
cunning
yeah.
for sure.
We'll definitely
Dave,
have
that's
you back. You
beautiful.
kidding me?
Dave, I love that you have crazy stuff coming out of her pumpkin. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
got to
Crap.
finish
love
that,
this
dude.
character. It's so much fun that she's actually kind of one of the baddest characters in the group. Whatever. She's very formidable.
Yeah. Well, that's the story I'm working on now. Is about how much of a badass she is, but whether or not she's ready for it, and that's the theme of the next of the next story that I'm trying to finish. So
Cool.
yeah, it's a lot of fun, too much fun for one human being. So we all had to do it together.
See, look at Dan. This is the kind of crap I have to put up with. Aaron phoned it in. Oh my gosh. Are you freaking
What?
kidding me? I know. It's terrible the way I'm treated.
We
on
get
my own
roasted
show.
here. It's
I
part
had a
of the thing.
friend when I was working on the Black Terror. I was just out of art school when I was really getting into the thick of it because I was working on it when I was still in art school, but I was out of art school, so it was the summer, fall of 89 or whenever it was, and I was working away. And I remember one time I had about 10 pages that I was going to turn into Eclipse because back then you turned your work in. Remember, you used to send it off and it would come back. Well, I was in this apartment. I had it all spread out, all these pages. And I think it was the first time I'd had a big group of pages done that I was going to send in. And I was looking at them going, wow, I did all this? This is a lot of work. And one of my friends came over and he's like, sit.
Oh,
Darn it.
we lost it.
Dang it.
We're right on the edge of our seat, Dan.
Oh, did I get
The meaning of
cut
life
off?
is.
Did I get cut off?
You're back. You're back.
You're back.
Sorry, my alarm went off again. So yeah, my friend, did you hear what I said?
No, start it again.
My alarm went off and cut me off.
Start it again.
You had a big batch of pages.
You got to pay
I had
the
a big batch of
story
pages.
off.
I laid them all on the living room floor, and I was looking at them when my friends came over, and he said, "Where are the good pages?"
Damn.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and
man. It sounds like
he's
this
still alive.
show.
That guy.
That's a true friend.
Yeah.
He was my friend, and that's why I let him live. But he still does that sometimes. He'll say, "Where are the good pages?" And
Eric Boyd
it took
says
a
Dan
while for
Barrett
me to
still
get over
won.
that, but
Whatever
yeah.
you can say to control yourself, Aaron. All right.
All I
Hey,
can say is that it's not for everybody, and we all know that.
Hey, I want to thank
And Dan, you definitely know because you are in advertising.
Mhm.
Brereton's
So
taking
what does
over
that
the
mean to
show.
be in advertising as an illustrator?
Storyboards, TV commercials. That kind
Ah,
of
gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Now,
Have
Dan,
you
I
guys
have to
had
wrap the show up.
you haven't
Dan.
had Brett Blevins on.
No.
You should have Brett on. You should have Brett on sometime.
Well, tell them to come on.
I
Yeah,
will.
guys get scared to come on here. They're just like, 'cause they don't want to draw, and they, so it's.
Oh well, I don't think you have to worry about Brett. but and then that. But you know, Brett's in Arizona. I mean, none of you guys are in Arizona.
It's warm. You know, it's warm there.
Close. He's somewhat close to New Mexico. Somewhat.
Do you still talk to Mike Allred?
I saw Mike Allred at OAX year before last year, the first one, and he was there, and so we got to talk, and I saw Laura, so that was cool.
Ask him to come on this show.
Okay, I will. I think it would be really interesting to see him, to have him do that. I don't know what kind of podcasting things he does. Have you ever asked Alex? I know Alex won't come on.
Who?
Alex Ross.
Man, Alex Ross.
Now you just sounded like Alex just now when you said that.
All right. I hate to break this up, guys, but we have to wrap up the show because I have another show to do. But hey, I want to thank Dan Brereton for being our special guest today. It was fantastic, Dan. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
To remember that you've got a mini series coming out from Dark Horse this fall, but you also have the campaign going right now with the Nocturnals 31 art book. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Also, real quickly, Wraith of God 3, you'll find my project. You'll find a link in the description of this video, along with David Williams and EVS's Fearsome, Dan Lawless's YouTube channel, and all sorts of good, fun stuff. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you for participating in the show. We couldn't do it without you. We'll see you next week right here on Graybeard's Studio. Good night, everybody.
Corn dogs. Corn dogs. Corn dogs.